Chapter 43:65. Boom, boom, boom. When the starlight world was lifted up by the giant, the young man's aura changed completely. He became more powerful and terrifying, like a butterfly breaking out of a cocoon and becoming a completely different person. When the surrounding thunder god phantoms attacked again, the young man snorted and rolled up his sleeves. The giant behind him held up the starlight world with both hands and swung it in all directions. The vast starlight world was blooming with resplendent starlight as it swept over. The specks of starlight emitted a piercing, cold light. Under the influence of the starlight world, the invincible thunder god phantoms were repelled and couldn't get close to the young man. Huh, is this the power of the reverse ancient starlight world? Zhuowen silently looked at the starlight world behind the young man and the giant holding it up, his eyes revealing a look of understanding. The moment he saw the starlight world and the giant, Zhuowen thought of the universe world and the cosmic law idol. The starlight world of the reverse ancient starlight world was an evolved version of the universe world, and the giant was similar to the cosmic law idol, but more powerful. XDW8, it seemed that the reverse ancient starlight world should have perfectly integrated the characteristics of the universe tribulation and the cosmic law idol, forming a new powerful vision. This vision was called the reverse ancient starlight. The reverse ancient starlight world was the manifestation of a unique power of the reverse ancient starlight world, including the starlight world and the celestial giant. Since the fall of the seven emotions, six desires Saint Lord, his reverse ancient starlight world was no longer complete. His celestial giant was annihilated with his fall, leaving only the starlight world. Unfortunately, although this person's cultivation is also at the reverse ancient starlight world, the gap between him and the seven emotions, six desires, Saint Lord, is too big. Zhuowen secretly shook his head. He had come into contact with the starlight world of the seven emotions, six desires, Saint Lord, and could clearly feel the huge gap between the two. There was no doubt that the young man was only at the early stage of the reverse ancient starlight world, while the seven emotions, six desires, Saint Lord, was at the peak of the reverse ancient starlight world. The two couldn't be compared at all. His peerless thunder god array was at the peak of the third sky of the eternal realm. Although it might not be able to trap the peak of the reverse ancient starlight world, it was more than enough to trap this person. Just as Zhuowen was deep in thought, the young man unleashed his prowess. The starlight world hanging above his head emitted dazzling starlight that rained down like a meteor shower. Under the stimulation of the starlight, the aura of the celestial form giant became more and more terrifying. Then, it strode forward and engaged in a fierce battle with the surrounding phantoms of the thunder god, suppressing all the phantoms of the thunder god in one fell swoop. One after another, the thunder god's phantoms dimmed under the bombardment. They looked like they were about to collapse at any moment. However, Zhuowen did not panic. The true power of the peerless thunder god formation had yet to be fully unleashed. Zhuowen glanced at Lei Jia, Lei Yu, and the others who had successfully left the formation. The smile on his face became even colder. Zhuowen's hand seals suddenly changed, and the aura of the peerless lightning god array suddenly became much more stagnant. The silhouettes of the thunder god, which had been completely suppressed by the giant celestial form, collapsed one after another. The strange thunderbolts around the entire formation also vanished in the blink of an eye. The huge peerless lightning god array seemed to have suddenly stopped at this moment. The young man raised his eyebrows. His long and narrow eyes fell on Zhuowen, who was outside the formation. He said coldly, "Are you at your wit's end?" Zhuowen did not answer. His hands suddenly formed the last seal, causing the young man's face to change abruptly. The originally quiet and strange formation was once again filled with terrifying purple thunderbolts. The rolling purple thunderbolts seemed to be attracted by some kind of force and were attracted to the center of the formation. They constantly condensed and shrank and turned into a beating heart. However, this heart was purely formed by purple thunderbolts in a strange way. The sound of the heart beating resounded between heaven and earth. Moreover, every time it resounded, it would increase the pressure in the surroundings, causing everything in the surroundings to be unable to breathe. The young man's heart was beating extremely fast. He had an extremely ominous premonition in his mind. The source of the ominous feeling was this strange heart that was purely formed by purple thunderbolts. I must destroy this heart. The young man's face was extremely serious. Although he did not know what this heart would eventually evolve into, he knew that if he did not take action, this heart would cause a very serious impact and damage to him. The young man made a prompt decision. He drove the Starlight World and Giant Celestial to launch the fiercest attack on the purple Thunderbolt heart. However, to the young man's horror, the heart began to grow stronger. Even if the Starlight World and Giant Celestial did their best, they still could not stop this heart from growing stronger. Zhuowen silently watched everything that happened in the peerless lightning god array, and his heart was full of sneers. This heart was the core of the peerless lightning god array. As time passed, the heart would continue to absorb purple thunderbolts, condense flesh and bones, and eventually turn into a real lightning god. Once the lightning god was formed, even a middle stage or late stage ancient starlight experts may not be able to stop it, let alone this young man who was only at the early stage ancient starlight stage. The moment the young man failed to attack the heart, Zhuowen already knew that the former's ending was doomed. The moment the purple thunderbolt heart was formed, it was the weakest moment. The young man could not even destroy the purple thunderbolt heart at its weakest moment, so it was basically impossible for him to do anything else. When the lightning god was finally formed, the young man would die. Zhuowen did not pay any more attention to the young man. In his opinion, the young man was undoubtedly dead. His gaze fell on Lei Yu and Lei Jia, who had already arrived in front of him. At this moment, the two of them brought the wounded Zi Long, Zi Yong, Zi Lian, and Zi Xian to Zhuowen's side. In particular, Zi Xian's injuries were extremely serious. Not only were her physical injuries terrible, but even the foundation of her divine soul was damaged. At this moment, she was muddle-headed and her eyes were dull. "It's you. Why are you a wanted criminal here?" Because Zhuowen had been staying in this remote alley, Zilong did not notice Zhuowen after being rescued. Now, as soon as she entered the alley, she recognized Zhuowen. Wasn't he the young, demonic cultivator who was crazily wanted by them during this period of time? The two saintesses, Zilian and Ziyong, also looked at Zhuowen vigilantly. Although they had never seen Zhuowen, they had seen Zhuowen's portrait at a glance. They recognized that the young man in front of them was exactly the same as the wanted criminal's portrait drawn by Zilong Slap. However, as soon as Zilong finished speaking, she felt a strong wind sweeping over and fiercely landing on her cheek. The crisp sound of the slap was extremely ear-piercing. Zilong covered her burning right cheek. Bright blood even flowed out from the corner of her mouth. It could be seen how heavy the slap was. Chapter 43:66. Zhuowen slowly withdrew his right hand and said indifferently, "For the sake of Lei Yu and Lei Jia, I can let bygones be bygones. But if you still dare to say that I'm a wanted criminal, then don't blame me for being rude. You got some guts. I'm Zilong, the third saintess of the Zi Xian clan. How dare you hit me? Do you believe that I won't let you leave Zi Xian's sacred city?" Zilong almost screamed, her voice sharp and ear-piercing. Slap! Another crisp sound of a slap completely covered Zilong's sharp cry. You have to pay the price for speaking without thinking. Zhuowen slowly withdrew his right hand and looked coldly at Zilong, who was covering her cheek. Zilong finally sobered up a little. She covered her cheek and looked at Zhuowen with resentment and said, "If I wasn't seriously injured and didn't have any extra strength, you wouldn't have the right to be arrogant now." Zilong knew that Zhuowen's cultivation was only at the great tribulation of heaven and earth. In her opinion, Zhuowen was taking advantage of her to slap her several times. XDW8, if she wasn't injured, then he wouldn't have the chance to be arrogant. Slap! Did I let you speak? Zhuowen gave him another backhand slap. Slap! While I'm talking, are you qualified to interrupt? Zhuowen slapped her again. Finally, Zilong was completely frightened by Zhuowen and didn't dare to make sound. She just covered her cheek and stared at Zhuowen in shock and anger. Lei Jia, Lei Yu, what are you waiting for? Help me take down this man. He simply doesn't care about the Zixin clan and Zixin sacred city. This man must be eliminated to be at peace. Zilong was very dissatisfied with the silent Lei Yu and Lei Jia. Third Saintess, I think you misunderstood. This is Mo1. He is your savior. If it weren't for him, you would have died in the hands of that man. Lei Jia finally spoke. She pointed at the young man who was still trapped in the peerless lightning god array and spoke in a very impolite tone. She had long disliked Zilong. Now that things had come to this Zilong was still so impulsive. Was she really brainless? Third Saintess, Patriarch Lei Jia seems to be right. Look, this kid is controlling the formation to trap the enemy and create an opportunity for us to escape. Fifth Saintess Zillion suddenly thought of something and said, she and Ziyong were not blind. They knew exactly what had happened earlier. Coupled with the fact that the divine warship had been attacked as scheduled, they were beginning to realize that Zilong's previous judgment had been completely wrong, including the fact that she had placed a bounty on this young demonic cultivator. They even began to suspect that Zilong had been deceiving them all this while, which led to such a huge mistake. At the same time, they couldn't help but recall the words of the great Saintess. They now understood that the great Saintess was right. This person must be in cahoots with that person. The two of them are just putting on an act to gain our trust and use it to carry out some kind of conspiracy. Zilong's eyes were full of resentment. She shouted at the top of her lungs. She couldn't be wrong. Saintess Zilong, please conduct yourself with dignity. If it weren't for nephew Mo1, you would have died. How could you be as lively as you are now? Not only are you ungrateful, but you also want to slander him. Don't go too far. Lei Jia couldn't stand it anymore and scolded coldly. Lei Yu, Zhu Yuan, and Chen Yin's faces were also very ugly. Zilong was really too much. She had reached the point where she couldn't distinguish between black and white. Did I beg him to save me? And with my strength, I can get out of here soon. Him saving me is just superfluous, Zilong said shamelessly. Lei Jia and others were trembling with anger. Ziyong and Zillion also couldn't stand it anymore. Anyone with a discerning eye could see that Zilong and the others were already at the end of their rope. If Zhuowen and others hadn't rescued them in time, they would have died. Zilong, on the other hand, blamed Zhuowen for his superfluous action. People could be so shameless. Zhuowen was not surprised. As early as the first time he came into contact with Zilong, Zhuowen already knew what kind of person she was. Arguing with her was simply looking for trouble. Suddenly, Zhuowen's face changed greatly. In that instant, he felt an extremely dangerous, dark, and cold aura, like a poisonous snake rushing up from the soles of his feet to his Tianling acupoint. The terrifying cold filled his limbs and bones, even deep into his bone marrow, and reached the depths of his soul. His movements became extremely slow, and his reaction became much slower, as if he was playing in slow motion. Zhuowen turned his head with difficulty and found that Lei Jia, Zilong, and others were frozen. Their expressions were frozen for a moment and completely still. Enemy attack. In an instant, Zhuowen understood that they had been attacked by some kind of strange power. If it weren't for Zhuowen's soul being really strong, his end might have been the same as Lei Jia and others. His body and soul would have been frozen in an instant. Zhuowen quietly operated the immemorial primordial chant and completely dispelled the cold feeling in the depths of his soul. His limbs and bones also recovered a lot. After recovering, Zhuowen did not act rashly. Instead, he observed silently. This person could secretly make everyone present fall into the trap. It could be seen that this person must be a defying ancient starlight expert. Zhuowen guessed that this person was likely to be stronger than the youth trapped in the peerless thunder god array. He was probably a defying ancient starlight expert. Sure enough, Zhuowen didn't have to wait for long. He perceived that the cold breath in the surroundings had become more and more intense, as if the surroundings had suddenly become an ice house with extremely low temperature. The crisp and lazy footsteps were getting closer and closer, passing by Lei Jia, Zilong, and others, but stopped beside Zhuowen for a moment. Zhuowen still maintained the same expression as before, as if he was frozen by the strange, cold aura like Lei Jia and the others. But in his heart, he was vigilant to the extreme. If this person attacked him, Zhuowen would not hesitate to fight back. To Zhuowen's relief, the footsteps sounded again. Finally, the person passed by Zhuowen and walked toward the peerless Thunder God array. Zhuowen unconsciously glanced at the owner of the clear and lazy footsteps and discovered that it was the back of a woman with a graceful figure. She was wearing a tight-fitting black leather jacket that outlined her full and alluring figure, causing people to be lost in fanciful thoughts. At this moment, the youth in the peerless Thunder God array was being suppressed by the Thunder God. He was spitting blood and was in a very difficult situation. The youth's starlight world and celestial giant were even dimmer under the attack of the Thunder God, as if they would collapse at any time. Luoya, you finally came. Quickly help me out. I can't hold on any longer. The youth shouted for help. The woman named Luoya looked at the youth mockingly and said, "Hey, Fa, you can't even deal with a few cosmic manifestation experts. Don't you feel ashamed?" Hey, Fa's face was gloomy and said, "If it weren't for this strange and powerful array, I would have already destroyed this group of trash." Chapter 43:67. This aura is so powerful. This formation is actually at the peak of the third heavenly layer of the eternal realm. This level of formation isn't something I can break. Luoya frowned slightly. Hey, Fa said anxiously, "Don't play dumb with me. With the power of your inverse ancient star form, it's easy for you to take me out." Luoya looked in the direction of the inner city and said indifferently, "Well, we really don't have much time." After saying that, Luoya's aura suddenly changed. A huge inverse ancient star form appeared in the void behind her. Luoya's inverse ancient star form was also formed by a huge starlight world and an astral giant. Luoya's astral giant was more feminine, while her starlight world was softer, but there was a creepy feeling in the depths. As soon as Luoya's inverse ancient star form appeared, the surrounding temperature dropped rapidly, as if it had entered a cold winter. The creepy feeling was even more intense, like an all-pervasive poisonous snake that could drill into the depths of one's bones at any time, constantly gnawing on one's flesh, blood, bones, and even soul. Luoya gently waved her snow-white hand. The astral giant behind her knelt on the ground with one knee, holding the starlight world with both hands, sprinkling down bits of starlight. The starlight was more like cold ice fragments. As soon as it landed on the ground, it froze and cracked small holes in the ground. While under the influence of these strange ice fragments, Luoya's entire body became more transparent. Looking from afar, she looked more like a transparent ice sculpture. Luoya. At this moment, Luoya moved. She gently took a step forward with her right foot and stepped into the edge of the unparalleled lightning god formation. What Luoya thought was that the rainstorm-like endless purple lightning in the unparalleled lightning god formation couldn't cause any harm to her. Then, the moment the purple lightning landed on Luoya's body, it was as if it had touched air, directly passing through her body. Originally, Zhuowen, who was standing not far away and pretending to be frozen, naturally saw this scene. His pupils couldn't help but shrink. As expected, this Liao wasn't simple. Her ancient defying celestial phenomenon was very unique. It was actually able to transform her body into some sort of spiritual body, allowing her to ingeniously avoid the attacks of the violet lightning that descended from the peerless thunder god formation. A short while later, Luoya arrived beside He Fa and grabbed his arm with her jade-like hands. Here at this moment, Black Fa was in an extremely sorry state. He had just been sent flying by the thunder god's punch and heavily smashed into the ground. Boom! Boom! And at that instant, the god of thunder did not stop. He walked over with large strides and raised his enormous foot high. Then, He ruthlessly stomped down on Hei Fa, who was on the ground, as well as Luoya, who was beside him. Whole countless thunderous booms rang out in the air. The Thunder God's kick was extremely powerful. If it landed on Hei Fa's body, even if Hei Fa didn't die, he would at least lose a layer of skin. Why Thunder God used speed was too fast. Just as Black Fa got up and grabbed Luoya's jade-like hand, the giant foot fell from above his head. Whole the ground cracked open, and a small crater appeared. Rolling purple thunderbolts swept through the crater like waves. Thunder after the god of Thunder God raised his foot. He found that Hei Fa and Luoya were still alive and kicking. They didn't seem to be injured at all. Let's go. My secret technique won't last for long. Don't waste time. Luoya held Hei Fa's hand and quickly left the crater. She rushed out of the formation. The god of thunder chased after them. He controlled the endless purple thunderbolts in the formation to form obstacles one after another. He wanted to use them to stop Luoya and Luoya's footsteps. However, Luoya and Hei Fa seemed to have turned into air. The purple thunderbolts around them directly passed through them. They couldn't hurt them at all. When the two of them completely left the peerless thunder god formation, the god of thunder in the formation roared angrily. Then, he turned into endless purple thunderbolts and disappeared into the core of the formation. Clang! After the two of them successfully left the peerless thunder god formation, Luoya's face was slightly pale. It was obvious that the secret technique just now had taken toll on her. Shua! When Xin, on the other hand, sank to the bottom. Luoya's technique was too strange. He had been observing all along, but he couldn't see what the original form of Luoya's ability was. If he were to face this ability, he would probably be like the peerless thunder god formation. He wouldn't be able to cause any harm to Luoya at all. Luoya, thank you. If it weren't for you, I would have died in this formation. Hey, Fa said. His eyes were filled with lingering fear. His cold gaze fell on Zhuowen, who wasn't far away. He was filled with killing intent. What are you doing? Luoya saw Hei Fa walking straight toward Zhuowen. She couldn't help but stop him and ask, This strange formation is controlled by this kid. I was almost killed by him. Do you think I could take this lying down? Hei Fa said with a murderous look. Since you've already gotten the key, go to the core of the inner city immediately. Otherwise, when the two bitches from the Zishuan clan get the news, they'll definitely ask those old guys from the super regions for help. Once the experts from the super regions get involved, we won't have a chance. Luoya warned. Luoya reminded him coldly and continued, Moreover, they've all been hit by my extreme yin qi. They won't be able to live for long. They'll die eventually. Why should we waste our time on these ants? Hei Fa snorted coldly. He stared at Zhuowen with a sinister look. Then, he reluctantly left with Luoya and rushed toward the core of the inner city. Not long after they left, Zhuowen tore off his disguise after confirming that there was no danger. He looked in the direction that Luoya and Hei Fa left. He didn't plan to chase after them, nor did he have any intention of informing the Zishuan clan. He had already warned the Zishuan clan unconditionally. It could be said that he had done everything he could. If it wasn't for the fact that the divine warship wasn't destroyed, he wouldn't even bother to remind the Zishuan clan. Zhuowen came to Lei Jia, Lei Yu, and the others. He found that their bodies were surrounded by the strange yin qi. At this moment, they were in an extremely dangerous situation. Zhuowen used the power of the primordial chaos technique to help Lei Jia, Lei Yu, Jiu Yuan, and Chen Yin dissolve the yin qi on their bodies. Clang! After Zhuowen dealt with the four people's yin qi, he found that the three saintesses, Zi Long, Zi Yong, and Zi Lian, who were standing not far away, had all awakened. It seemed that the three saintesses also kept their own trump cards. Otherwise, it would be impossible for them to dissolve the yin qi's invasion in such a short period of time. After Zi Yong and Zi Lian regained their mobility, they helped the dying Zi Xian dissolve the yin qi. Zi Yonglong, on the other hand, glanced at Zhuowen in surprise. Clearly, she found it inconceivable that Zhuowen could also dispel the powerful cold aura. Boom! Boom! At the same time, an extremely terrifying explosion came from the direction of the core of the inner city. An extremely terrifying battle was taking place there. In the sky above the core of the inner city, there were three huge, inverse, ancient celestial bodies confronting each other. Chapter 4368. Not good. They have invaded the core inner city. That is Zi Qiongdren's defying ancient star form. Has Zi Qiongdren been forced to come out? Zilong looked at the terrifying battle in the core inner city, and her face finally changed. Ziqiong is one of the two female masters of the Zi Xian clan. Her strength is extremely good. She is a middle stage, defying ancient star light stage powerhouse. Yes, Ziqiong, as a female master, has been in seclusion for a long time. She often leaves Zi Xian's sacred city, and her whereabouts are erratic. She rarely appears in person. Now Ziqiong is forced to come out in person, and Zilong and others also understand the seriousness of the matter. Lei Jia, Lei Yu, now Zixian Sacred City is in a great disaster. As a member of the Leijin clan, you are bound to our Zixian clan for good or ill. We need your help. Take that big array and come with me to the corner city. Zilong suddenly looked at Lei Jia and Lei Yu and used an unquestionable tone to order. Lei Jia, Lei Yu, Jiu Yuan, and Chenin frowned. They didn't like Zilong's behavior. He, the Leijin clan, and their Zixian clan are in a cooperative relationship, not a master-servant relationship. Zilong is only the third holy maiden. She doesn't have such a big right to order their Leijin clan. But what Zilong said is not wrong. Their Leijin clan and Zixian clan are indeed bound together for good or ill. If Zixian clan is in trouble, their Leijin clan can't stand alone. Third Saintess. This array is called the Peerless Divine Lightning Array. It wasn't set up by us, but by Nephew Mo1. Lei Jia and I are controlling it together, but we are unable to unleash its full power. Only Nephew Mo1 can unleash its full power, Lei Yu said indifferently. Zilong frowned slightly. She looked coldly at Zhuan and said in a deep voice, "You are called Mo1, right? Then you take this big array and come with us to the core inner city." And Mo1 sneered at Zilong, who took it for granted, and said indifferently, "Why should I help your Zixian clan? I still remember that I kindly reminded you that there would be an enemy attack, but what did you do? You're going to arrest me without any reason? Now that your Zixuan clan is in trouble, you want to help you? Aren't you thinking too highly of yourself? Let me ask you, who do you think you are?" Zilong was so angry that she was trembling. She said gloomily, "I didn't say that I would let you help me for free. As long as you help the Zixian clan this time, you will gain the friendship of the Zixian clan, and your arrest warrant will be removed immediately." When sneered in his heart, Zilong's arrest warrant for him was originally unjust, causing him to be wanted for no reason. Now, in Zilong's mouth, removing the arrest warrant had instead become a kind of reward. It was truly laughable to the extreme. Get lost. I'm not a member of your Zixian clan. If you dare to be long-winded again, I'll kill you right now. Zhuan flicked his sleeves and left without even looking at Zilong. You will regret this. Zilong's eyes were filled with hatred as she shouted, "Third Saintess, you're going a bit too far. Honorable Nephew Mo1 is your savior, yet you're treating him like this. It's really disappointing." Lei Jia refuted Zilong without any trace of politeness. Yet Zilong was indifferent, and she said indifferently, "He's just an itinerant cultivator without any background. It's his honor that I asked him to help, yet he's actually so arrogant. Once the crisis of Zixian Holy City passes, he'll have to die as well." Lei Jia, Lei Yu, and others showed disgust in their eyes. They didn't even think about it. They put away the peerless thunder god array and followed Zhuan in the direction of his departure. "Where are you going?" Zilong's face changed slightly. "Nephew Mo1 is our friend, and you treat our friend like this, which is also an indirect insult to our Thunder Array clan. Since your Zixian clan is so powerful, I'm afraid our Thunder Array clan can't help." Lei Yu said a sentence without looking back, and took Lei Jia, the Jiu Yuan, and chun in away. Humph. I really don't know what I'm talking about. The Thunder Array clan is looking for death. I must punish them afterwards. Zilong snorted coldly. Enough. Zilong, are you done yet? Who exactly is the one who caused today's disaster? Could it be that you still haven't realized it? It's you, it's all your fault. Therefore, Ziyong, who was standing on the side, couldn't help but scold Zilong loudly. Her delicate face was red, and her eyes were full of hatred. Yes, originally, we could still save it. As long as we win over Lei Jia, Lei Yu, and others of the Thunder Array clan, relying on the peerless Thunder God Array, we can make up for our crimes. You actually drove all of them away in anger. How far will you harm us before you stop? Zilian also said angrily. Two holy maidens Exan had already woken up, but because of her serious injuries, she was supported by Ziyong and Zilian. Although she didn't speak, it could be seen from her eyes that she was full of resentment towards Zilong. How can you do this? I did this for our own good, and to maintain the dignity of our Zixin clan. Zilong's heart was in a state of panic as she retorted. For our own good? I think it's all for your own selfish reasons. You didn't do it to protect the dignity of the Zixin clan. You just want to protect your own pitiful and lowly self-esteem. For your own selfish reasons, you dragged all of us down. You really make us sick. Ziyong said resentfully. Let's go back and find the Great Holy Maiden. With the Great Holy Maiden's relationship with Lei Jia, there might still be a chance to turn things around. Also, we must expose Zilong's crimes. All of this was caused by her, and it has nothing to do with us. Ziyong didn't even look at Zilong. After speaking to Zilian and Zxian, both of them agreed. Zilong's expression changed greatly. Looking at the backs of Ziyong and the other two leaving in a hurry, she felt powerless. She knew that she was done for. If the three holy maidens pushed the blame to her, she wouldn't be able to defend herself even if she tried to argue. When Ziyong and the other two entered the core inner city, they discovered that the Great City Barrier Array had already been activated. Only, however, the huge Great City Barrier Array didn't cause much damage to the three people fighting inside. The Great City Barrier Array was even full of cracks from the aftermath of the three people's battle, and it was about to collapse at any time. Under the influence of the battle, most of the originally neat and orderly inner city had turned into ruins. Many of the Zixin clan's clansmen had died inside. At this moment, the Great Holy Maiden was stopping the few cultivators in the inner city from moving the surviving clansmen. Great Holy Maiden, we know our mistakes. Please punish us. Ziyong and the other two hurriedly walked to the Great Holy Maiden, Ziyuan, and knelt on the ground, sincerely expressing their apologies. Ziyuan looked at the three of them indifferently and asked, "Where's the third holy maiden, Zilong?" When it came to Zilong, Ziyong and the other two became extremely agitated. They kept recounting Zilong's crimes and how they were blinded by Zilong's instigation. In any case, in their mouths, everything was Zilong's fault, and they were actually the victims. The Great Holy Maiden, Ziyuan, looked deeply at Ziyong and the other two, but didn't say anything. Instead, she said indifferently, "Moving the clansmen is more important now. Lord Ziqiang has already blocked two invaders. After moving all the surviving clansmen, we will also join the battle and help Lord Ziqiang." Chapter 43-69. Near the divine warship, a black shadow slowly emerged from the darkness. Upon closer inspection, the black shadow was actually a round black egg. There were complicated patterns on the surface of the egg, and it was currently emitting a faint glow. Crack! Squeak! Squeak! Suddenly, the black egg emitted a soft sound similar to the sound of metal rubbing against each other. The black egg slowly unfolded, and a wretched figure slowly crawled out from the core of the egg. Uffed. The figure spat out a mouthful of blood. His face was extremely pale, and there was still lingering fear in his eyes. Phew! I almost died. I didn't expect this formation to be so powerful. If it wasn't for the Black God, I wouldn't even be left with dregs. The figure was a middle-aged man. He had a bitter smile on his face as he muttered to himself. Looks like Lord Blacklaw and the others have already started to move. I'd better leave quickly. The middle-aged man looked at the terrifying battle in the inner city, and his eyes were filled with fear. His body trembled slightly, and he planned to leave this place. Where do you plan to go, Fei Pingze? Just as the middle-aged man was about to escape, an indifferent voice suddenly rang out. Fei Pingze's pupils shrank to the size of needles. He quickly turned around and looked in the direction of the divine worship behind him. He saw a young demonic cultivator with demonic aura around him and scarlet eyes walking over leisurely. You didn't leave? Fei Pingze exclaimed. Fei Pingze looked at the young demonic cultivator walking over slowly. His eyes narrowed slightly as he heaved a sigh of relief. If it was Zilong, Ziyong, or the others who had returned, he might be a little afraid. However, it was just a young demonic cultivator with a low cultivation. Not only was he not afraid, but he was also very glad. Year the light demonic cultivator was Zhuowen, who had returned after leaving. When the peerless thunder god formation was wreaking havoc, everyone's attention was focused on the Black Law and neglected Fei Pingze. Later, the black egg that Fei Pingze was in disappeared into thin air. Everyone subconsciously thought that Fei Pingze had vanished into thin air within the formation. But none of this escaped Zhuowen's eyes. He had been paying attention to Fei Pingze for a long time, including his disappearance. His intuition told him that Fei Pingze's black god was definitely not as simple as it seemed. That was why he had used his argument with Zilong as an excuse to leave. And not long after he left, he quietly returned and waited for an opportunity near the divine ship. Sure enough, his guess was right. Fei Pingze was still alive. This black god ship is really incredible. It can actually blend into the darkness. Even if it's a starlight expert, if they don't observe carefully, they may not be able to detect the black god ship in the darkness. Wen's gaze landed on the black god ship. There was a trace of surprise and passion in his eyes. Black the divine ship was definitely the most unique and powerful divine ship he had ever seen. Such a divine ship was enough to match all the divine ships he had stored in the macro world. Fei Pingze narrowed his eyes and sneered. What? You're still coveting my black god, but that's just wishful thinking. But Zhuowen was indifferent and said coolly, very soon, the black god will be mine. Do I still need to covet it? To me, it's just something that I can easily obtain. Humph, you're just looking for death. You're just trash at the peak of the Qian Kuan tribulation. Without the help of the formation, how can you be my opponent? Just die. Fei Pingze roared. Pingze was furious. He was an expert at the mid-cosmic Dharma stage. He was several levels higher than Zhuowen. Now, he was being looked down upon by Zhuowen. Naturally, he was extremely unhappy. He decisively took out his cosmic Dharma and launched a thunderous attack at Zhuowen. However, the moment Fei Pingze swept out, he immediately discovered that countless strange formation patterns had appeared around him. The dense array patterns were like slithering snakes, wrapping around him like a huge python that was about to strangle its prey. Formation? What did you set it up? Fei Pingze asked. Pingze's limbs were all bound by the formation patterns. He looked at the young demonic cultivator in front of him in horror. Only the young demonic cultivator gently stretched out his right hand. There was a flash of lightning in his palm, and the formation patterns were surging out from it. While you were talking nonsense, I had already finished setting up my attack array. I've been waiting for you to make a move. Unfortunately, you've been talking too much. I'm getting a little impatient. Zhuo smiled. Wen grinned. He had the Thunder Origin Formation diagram and was a divine array master at the third heaven of the Eternal Realm. Therefore, he only needed half a breath to set up the early stage third heaven of the Eternal Realm. Impossible. How long has it been? And this is an attack formation at the third heaven of the Eternal Realm. Even if you're a divine array master at the third heaven of the Eternal Realm, it's impossible to set up such a formation in such a short time. Fei Pingze's face was full of disbelief. He almost screamed out loud. Then you can ask on your way to the underworld. Zhuowen's tone was calm. He clenched his right hand into a fist and exerted a little force. Fei Peng's eyes suddenly bulged. He could clearly feel the power of the formation patterns around his body multiplying in an instant. While he could only watch helplessly as his body was continuously squeezed and crushed by the runes until he finally lost all consciousness. Zhuan looked expressionlessly at Fei Peng's, who was being crushed by the formation. With a wave of his sleeve, he put away the formation around him. He was more and more satisfied with the Thunder Origin formation diagram. Now, he only needed half a breath to set up the early stage third heaven of the Eternal Realm. Namely, even the early stage third heaven of the Eternal Realm only needed 10 breaths. Until early stage third heaven of the Eternal Realm might take a lot of time. Zhuan slowly came to the side of the black egg and gently placed his right palm on its surface. He could clearly feel the aura left by Fei Peng's gradually disappearing. He carefully examined it and found that the black god was still damaged to a certain extent, but it was not particularly serious and did not affect its important functions. Zhui afterward put the black god into the macro world. He handed it to Xiao He and asked him to repair it. Only yes, to Zhuan's speechlessness, Xiao He's first reaction when he saw the black god was to eat it. Hey, the sacred fire in the G. Oh, D was extremely tempting to Xiao He. For this reason, he kept whispering in Zhuan's ear, which made Zhuan very annoyed. If Zhuan didn't value the role of the black god, he really intended to give it to Xiao He to devour, but not now. Little seeing Zhuan so insistent, He no longer pestered him and agreed to repair the black god. After receiving the black god, Zhuan found the figures of Lei Jia and Lei Yu. The two of them passed through the air and headed for the inner city. While Jiuan came to Zhuan under Zhuan's notice. Jiu Yuan, are your grandmother and your great-grandfather going to the inner city to help? Zhuan asked calmly. Jiu Yuan smiled bitterly and said, Yes, my grandmother has a very good relationship with the great saintess Yuan. This time, the great saintess asked her, so she didn't refuse. Master, you won't be unhappy, right? After all, the peerless thunder god array is your. Ji Yuan secretly glanced at Zhuan and spoke very carefully, for fear of angering Zhuan. Chapter 4370. The peerless thunder god formation was originally arranged by me for your thunder array clan. It is your thunder array clan's thing. I have no right to ask how you use it. Since this is Senior Lei Jia's decision, I won't say anything. Zhuan smiled, without blaming him, and continued, Jiu Yuan, come with me, and we will arrange another peerless thunder god formation together. Are you going to? The Jiu Yuan was surprised. Looking at the young demonic cultivator in front of him, he didn't know what the latter was selling. But he didn't refuse. He now has blind worship for Zhuan, and he basically won't refuse the latter's request. Boom boom. The battle in the inner city of Sacred Jade City became more and more terrifying. Starlight shone, as if the end of the world had come. But wherever the starlight passed, the buildings in the inner city were all turned into decadent ruins. This Xiqiang is really difficult to deal with. Her strength is not weaker than mine, and the city protection array of this inner city has a bonus effect on her. Luoyu was suspended in the void, and behind her, a huge celestial giant was holding up the starlight world. Her pair of beautiful eyes stared solemnly at the woman who was also suspended in the air in front of her. The woman was dressed in a purple robe with waist-length purple hair, wearing a crown of hazy starlight, and a pair of starry eyes, mysterious and dazzling like 2 stars. Her appearance was not outstanding, but it was extremely pleasant to look at, and after looking at it for a long time, it gave people a strange feeling of holiness. There is no doubt that she is a woman with a very good taste. She is Xiqiang, one of the 2 female supremes of the Zishuan clan. She is also at the middle stage of the inverse ancient starlight stage. Blackfa's eyes were gloomy, and there was still congealed blood hanging from the corner of his mouth. His face was pale and bloodless. He had been seriously injured in the peerless thunder god formation, and now he is facing Xiqiang, who is stronger than him. Naturally, he is not feeling good. Black Fa, don't you know the specific location of the sacred fire source? I will hold Ziqiang. You go and take out the sacred fire source. Luoya's beautiful eyes were serious, and she said to Black Fa. Black Fa looked at Ziqiang opposite him and said, "Then you be careful." After that, Black Fa bypassed Ziqiang and swept towards the depths of the inner city. Ziqiang saw Black Fa's action and immediately knew the intention of the latter. Her beautiful eyes were cold, and she swept Black Fa as fast as lightning. However, Ziqiang was blocked by Luoya the moment she shot out. "Ziqiang's your opponent. Don't get the wrong persons." You smiled charmingly, but her movements were extremely ruthless, firmly entangling Ziqiang. "Luoya, don't go. Isn't your Luotian clan afraid that those lords of the transcendent world will blame you?" Ziqiang was flustered and exasperated. Her cultivation was similar to Luoya's. Although she had the advantage with the help of the Great City Barrier Formation, it was not an overwhelming advantage. Luoya wanted to stop her, but she couldn't get away for a while. "Ziqiang, don't think that I don't know that the Zixin clan's rise to power is based on the fact that you're using women as bargaining chips in exchange for the support of the Supreme Domain Lords. But in reality, that's just fake news that you're deliberately misleading us. The reason why you can obtain the support of those Supreme Domain Lords is because you have the sacred fire source. As long as our Luo Shun clan obtains the sacred fire source, your Zixin clan will have no value in cooperating with us. Those Supreme Domain Lords will naturally cooperate with our Luo Shun clan. At that time, do you think those Supreme Domain Lords will have nothing better to do than to deal with our Luo Shun clan? After all, to them, it doesn't matter which clan they cooperate with. As long as their benefits aren't harmed, they won't reject our Luo Shun clan." Luoya's lips curled up. Her hands shot out like lightning, and terrifying attacks landed on Ziqiang mercilessly, doing her best to obstruct Ziqiang's advance. Ziqiang was enraged. She used all her abilities, but she was still unable to break free from Luoya's control. She could only watch as Black Fa entered the depths of the inner city. When Black Fa rushed into a palace in the depths of the inner city, the holy maiden Ziyuan led the other 3 holy maidens and blocked Black Fa's path. "The 4 of you still want to block me? Are you courting death?" Black Fa narrowed his eyes. Coldness and impatience could be seen in his eyes. "The sacred fire source is the foundation of our Zixin clan. We will protect it even if we die." The holy maiden Ziyuan stood out. Her eyes were filled with determination. Ziqiang, Xian, Ziyong, and Zilian's beautiful eyes flickered. There was fear in their eyes. Ziqiang, they were just heavily injured by Black Fa and almost died in his hands. Now that they had to face him again, they couldn't help but feel helpless. Ru, if it wasn't for the holy maiden's orders, they would have fled long ago. Black Fa didn't waste time talking nonsense with the holy maiden and the others. He knew that time was of the essence now. He couldn't waste any more time with these holy maidens. "Scram!" Black Fa roared. He instantly took out his heaven-defying ancient constellation and stepped out. Dense astral light revolved around him, causing him to be like a heavenly god descending to the mortal world, exuding an extraordinary might. Holy Maiden Ziyuan wasn't afraid at all. She was already half a step into the heaven-defying ancient starlight realm, and her strength was the strongest among the 5 holy maidens. She believed that if she joined forces with the other 3 holy maidens, they should be able to stop Black Fa for a while. However, the moment Ziyuan attacked, she immediately sensed that something was wrong. She realized that Zixan, Ziyong, and Zilian didn't attack. She couldn't help but look behind her, only to find that the 3 of them had all fallen to the ground. Behind the 3 of them stood a graceful young woman. "Zilong, what did you do?" The moment Ziyuan saw the young woman, her expression changed. She said with a gloomy face, "Oomph. I only gave the 3 of them the god's corpse powder. At most, they will be unconscious for 3 days and 3 nights. And this period of time is enough for the 3 of them to die in the hands of this person. You will also die in his hands, and I will become the only holy maiden of the Zixuan clan. As long as you are all dead, you won't be able to tell the holy maiden, and I won't be punished. So, holy maiden, it's better for you to die and fulfill my wish." Zilong's eyes were red, and she had fallen into some kind of madness. She knew very well that Xian and the other two must have already complained to the holy maiden, Ziyuan, and must have pushed all the blame onto her. None, regardless of whether the Zixuan clan could withstand the enemy's attack this time. She would be punished, and it would be a serious crime. As long as the holy maiden and the others were all dead, no one would report her to the holy maiden, and she would become the only holy maiden. From then on, her power would dominate the court, and her status would be unshakable. "Zilong, you lunatic, I'm going to clean up the clan today." Ziyuan was so angry that her chest heaved violently. She really didn't expect Zilong to ignore the overall situation. Just for her own selfish reasons, she would disregard the safety of the clan and kill them to silence them. Only yes, when Ziyuan was about to teach Zilong a lesson, Zilong was already prepared and retreated. At the same time, Black Fa's attack had arrived, forcing Ziyuan to turn around and deal with the aggressive Black Fa. Chapter 43-71. Hey Fa watched coldly. He looked at Zilong strangely. He really didn't expect Zilong to be so smart. She actually took the initiative to attack her own people. Your Zixuan clan is really declining. Even the chosen saintess is such a scum. The divine fire source is completely buried in your hands. You might as well give it to us. Hey Fa's mouth curved into a mocking smile. He seized the opportunity and rushed towards Ziyuan, not giving her any chance to breathe at all. As for Zilong, Hey Fa didn't care at all. She was such a scum who could betray her own clan. He couldn't wait to have more of her. How could he bear to kill her? Zilong took one last look at Ziyuan, who was vomiting blood after being beaten by Hey Fa. She didn't dare to stay any longer and quietly left this place. Crack. 10 After a few breaths, Ziyuan's cosmic image completely collapsed, and the crisp sound of shattering resounded in the surroundings. Among the countless fragments and light spots of the cosmic form, Ziyuan fell from the sky like an angel with broken wings. She was in a sorry state. Bang! Ziyuan smashed a huge hole in the ground. Countless smoke and dust dissipated, and the surrounding vision became completely gray. Hey Fa floated in the air. He didn't continue to attack. Instead, he rushed toward the palace where the divine fire source was hidden. Ziyuan was seriously injured and was no longer a threat. He was pressed for time, so he naturally wouldn't waste any more time on Ziyuan. Wait, it wouldn't be too late to kill Ziyuan after he took out the divine fire source. At not long after Hey Fa entered the deepest palace, two more figures rushed in from outside the inner city. The two figures were careful not to get close to the battle between Ziqiong and Luoye. Instead, they circled around and finally came to the front of the deepest palace. These two figures were an old woman with white hair and an old man. They were Lei Jia and Lei Yu, who had received the request of the saintess. "Saintess, are you okay?" Lei Jia quickly found the saintess, Ziyuan, who was deeply injured in the pit not far away. She quickly ran over and helped her up. Cough, cough. Ziyuan coughed continuously, spitting out large mouthfuls of blood. Her face was as pale as snow. "Lei Jia, he is too strong. He is an expert at the early stage of the ancient starlight realm. You should leave quickly. When he comes out, you won't be able to leave." "Great saintess, I brought the peerless lightning god Array. His name is Hey Fa. Earlier, he was trapped in the peerless divine lightning formation and almost died. If it wasn't for Luoye coming to save him, he would already be a corpse," Lei Jia said in a deep voice. A hopeful look appeared in Yuan's eyes. If the unparalleled Thunder Divine Matrix was really so powerful, perhaps Lei Jia and the others could really stop Hey Fa. However, the real person who set up the unparalleled Thunder God Array is someone else. His name is Mo1. If he is in charge, black magic will definitely be trapped. If we are in charge, the power of the array will be greatly reduced. Jia's eyes dimmed. Although she really wanted to ask for Zhuan's help, Zilong had gone overboard. They did not have the face to ask for Zhuan's help. Then please ask fellow Taoist Mo1 to help preside. Our Zishuan clan will definitely not treat him unfairly after this. Ziyuan hurriedly said, He is the demonic cultivator wanted by the third saintess. He is also the one who revealed the news of the attack to us. Unfortunately, the third saintess drove him away in anger. Jia angrily recounted everything that had happened near the divine worship, including how Zilong had despised and even forced Zhuan to do so. Perpeyuan's face darkened, and she almost cursed. Zilong was completely a hindrance to the Zishuan clan. She even wanted to kill the other four saintesses, including her, for her own selfish reasons. Ziyuan took a deep breath and tried to calm herself down. She said, Lei Jia, Lei Yu, I beg you to help us this time. After this, I will definitely give you an MO in justice. Zilong will not be able to escape the punishment of the clan's rules. I will not tolerate it. Lei Jia and Lei Yu were overjoyed. They had been unhappy with Zilong for a long time and were waiting for Ziyuan to say this. 2. They set up a shielding formation nearby in advance, and then placed the great saintess and the other 3 saintesses who were in a coma inside. My father and I will set up the Peerless Thunder God Array. As soon as Hey Fa comes out, we will activate the Peerless Thunder God Array to take him down. After Jia finished speaking, she walked outside the palace with Lei Yu. The 2 of them took out a disc array and made a complicated seal. According to the memory of the Peerless Thunder God Array in their minds, they constantly arranged and combined the dense array patterns that swept out of the disc array. Because the Peerless Thunder God Array was already formed in the disc array, it didn't take long for the 2 of them to set it up. In a quarter of an hour, the Peerless Thunder God Array was completely set up. Lei Yu put away his sleeve, and the Peerless Thunder God Array stopped, and a formation flag appeared in his hand. After doing this, Lei Jia and Lei Yu quietly came to the nearby shielding formation and silently observed the movements in the depths of the palace. 2 hours later, a black shadow swept out of the palace. Blacking's body exuded a blazing red light. The moment he came out, a terrifying wave of air hit like an explosion and instantly spread throughout the entire Zishuan sacred city. It's the sacred fire source. Inside the shielding formation, the great saintess Ziyuan saw the fiery red sacred fire source in the black shadow's hand at a glance. The terrifying heat and blazing red light were emitted from this sacred fire source. Hey Fa's right hand condensed most of the Ni Gu Star's divine power, but his palm was still about to melt under the terrifying heat of the sacred fire source. And this was only a small part of the energy that was accidentally leaked by the sacred fire source. It's worthy of being the source of a sacred fire source. The energy that escapes can cause such great damage to me. Hey Fa completely ignored his right palm that was about to melt, and his eyes were full of excitement. With this sacred fire source, he would become an immortal figure in the history of the Black Scale clan. He would become the most immortal existence in the history of the Black Scale clan. He would create miracles. Suddenly, a strong sense of crisis rose in Hey Fa's mind. Suddenly, endless purple lightning surged in front of his eyes, sweeping over like an avalanche. Bang! Hey Fa was caught off guard, and he was blasted flying by the terrifying purple lightning wave. He barely managed to stabilize his body, but he discovered that he was already enveloped by the dense purple lightning, and he was trapped within it like a prisoner imprisoned in the violet lightning prison. Damn it, it's this formation again. Hey Fa's eyes revealed a look of horror. Just now, he almost died in this peerless lightning god formation. Boom, boom, boom. The purple lightning seemed to have a consciousness and rushed toward Hey Fa. They drew a strange trajectory in the air, blocking all of Hey Fa's escape routes. Black Hey Fa protected the sacred fire source while avoiding the purple lightning around him. The Ni Gustar form he summoned was constantly helping him block a part of the purple lightning that he couldn't avoid. Soon, he was shocked to find that the peerless lightning god formation this time was much weaker than last time. At least these purple lightning didn't make him breathless and exhausted. Chapter 43:72. Without nephew Mo when presiding over it, the peerless thunder god array is indeed much weaker. Let not hold back anymore and summon the thunder god. Lei glanced at Lei Jia and changed the seal in his hand. Only the purple lightning of the peerless lightning god formation suddenly stopped. Then, they all gathered towards the center. In the end, they turned into a heart made purely of purple lightning. The heart kept beating, absorbing more and more purple lightning. It began to form flesh, bones, limbs, meridians, and so on, evolving into a mighty thunder god. Black Fa was very familiar with this scene. He had almost died under this strange thunder god form. But the current thunder god was much weaker than the first time. Although it was still very strong, it was not enough to put his life in danger. Sure enough, when the thunder god was formed, it was only evenly matched with Black Fa. It was unable to suppress him at all. Black Fa heaved a sigh of relief. He was really afraid that the condensed thunder god would be the same as the last time. If that happened, he would really be dead. Fortunately, this array is not strong, so I have time to use this talisman. While resisting the thunder god's attack, Fa quietly took out a grayish-white talisman. This talisman was given to him by Luo Ye just now. It could spiritualize a part of his body and pass through the array. Originally, Black Fa planned to use this talisman to pass through the inner city's great defensive array after obtaining the sacred fire source. He did not expect to use it in advance, but he was not in a hurry. As long as he met up with Luo Ye, he could rely on her secret technique to leave the great defensive array. Only this talisman required a certain amount of time to activate. If the thunder god was still as strong as before, he would not have time to use it. But now, there was no such worry. Black Fa took out the talisman and formed a seal with his right hand. His left hand controlled the ancient constellation to resist the thunder god's attack. After 10 breaths of time, the grayish-white talisman spontaneously burned into ashes. The dense ashes covered Black Fa's body, causing it to gradually become transparent. When Black Fa's body completely spiritualized, he quickly rushed towards the edge of the array. Luoyu was already urging him. He could not waste any more time here. Black Fa rushed out of the peerless thunder god array unimpeded. He did not even have time to look for Lei Jia and Lei Yu who were setting up the array. He went straight to Luo Ye. At this moment, Luo Yu was in an extremely wretched state as blood seeped out from the corner of her mouth. She dodged Ziqiang's ferocious attacks as she urged Black Mage to attack. Ziqiang was also extremely anxious. She had naturally sensed the terrifying wave of fire just now and knew that black magic had succeeded in obtaining the divine flame source. Let's go. Fa came to Ziqiang's side and said in a deep voice. Loya didn't dare to be negligent. She grabbed Fa's arm, and the two of them instantly entered spirit form. They quickly rushed out of the inner city. Where do you think you're going? Shocked and infuriated, Jade chased after Ji Hao and activated all the power of the defensive magic formation. Enter the city-protecting grand array of the city was, after all, a grand array of the third heavens of the eternal realm. Its power was extremely terrifying. At first, she was worried that her clansmen were still inside the city, so she didn't fully exert the power of the grand array. Now that the inner city was empty, she no longer had any worries. Terrifying attacks were unleashed from every corner of the inner city. Then, they rained down like meteors, filling the entire space. The magnificent buildings, streets, and roads in the inner city were instantly turned into ruins. However, the Grand Array's terrifying attacks had no effect on Luo Ye and black magic. Instead, they passed through their bodies as if they were hitting air. Ziqiang Jade gritted her teeth and hurriedly chased after them. She didn't believe that Luo you could maintain her spirit form forever. Lo, after leaving the Grand Array, you came into contact with spirit form. This secret technique was too much of a burden on her. She didn't dare to keep running in spirit form. The three of them, one chasing and one fleeing, quickly disappeared from Zixian Sacred City. Lo, that's right. No one noticed that outside Zixian Saint City, in a dark corner, a black divine ship blended into the night and quietly followed them. This great escape didn't last long. 2 hours later, in the sky above a great plain tens of billions of kilometers northwest of Zixian Sacred City, original Luo, Ya, and Black Magic, who were fleeing in a sorry state, suddenly stopped. They hovered in the air and turned to coldly look at Ziqiang, who was chasing after them. Ziqiang also stopped, keeping a distance of 1,000 meters from the two. Hand over the sacred fire source. It's not something you can take. Ziqiang didn't rush forward. She felt that there must be something wrong with Luo, Ya, and Black Magic's sudden stop. Ziqiang, don't you think that your Zixian Sacred City has been sitting at the top of the higher realms for too long? All these years, the other 15 higher realms have been suppressed by your Zixian Sacred City to the point of being unable to breathe. Every dog has its day. It's time for your Zixian Sacred City to step down and let the other higher realms take over. Luo, you said indifferently. What do you want to do? I've already informed the other lords of this matter. Very soon, Ziyang and another lord will descend to the Purple Jade Sacred City. At that time, your Luotian clan and Blackscale clan will be severely punished. Ziqiang coldly spoke. If it's only our 2 higher realms that participate, perhaps we really will be sanctioned. But what if the other higher realms participate as well? Will those lords of the supreme realms punish a dozen higher realms? As the saying goes, the law can't punish the majority. Don't you think so? Luo Ya's lips curled into a proud smile. Ziqiang's heart trembled. Her expression changed greatly. Don't tell me you. Before Ziqiang finished speaking, a terrifying crater appeared on the ground of the Great Plains. Waves of defying ancient starlight aura appeared on the Great Plains like a rapidly rising sun. In the blink of an eye, 11 figures appeared in the sky above the Great Plains. All of them were defying ancient starlight experts. Jade Feather Clan's Lin Yu, Blue Qian Clan's Lan Dao, Nuo Clan's Huang Ju. Ziqiang saw these figures and found that they were all rulers of the various higher realms. Her heart sank. Apart from the Grand Sovereign of the Sure Ran clan, which was ranked last among the higher realms, all the Grand Sovereigns of the other 13 higher realms had come. A total of 13 defying ancient starlight experts. Among them, there were several mid-stage defying ancient starlight experts like Ziqiang. Ziqiang couldn't contend with such a lineup. You actually joined forces? There's only one sacred fire source. Even if you get it, how will you divide it? Why don't you help me capture Luo Ya and Hei Fa? The lords of the supreme realms will definitely reward you handsomely. There's no risk. Isn't that perfect? Ziqiang forced herself to be calm and tried to divide the 13 people. Haha, Ziqiang, your plan to sow discord is useless. We've been planning this for many years. We've already come up with a plan that everyone can accept. Each of our clans has the right to use the sacred fire source for 100 years. We'll take turns. This way, we can achieve true fairness and harmonious development. Even if the lords of the supreme realms come in person, I'm afraid they won't completely stand on the side of the Zixian clan. After all, there's no difference whether the sacred fire source is in our hands or in the hands of the Zixian clan. The Grand Sovereign of the Nuo clan, Huang Ju, laughed and spoke first. His words were full of sarcasm. Chapter 4373. Ziqiang's face turned pale, and her heart sank. Tenshi was only at the middle stage of the defying ancient starlight realm. How could she resist the joint attack of 3 high-level domains? Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. While Ziqiang was still in a daze, 13 defying ancient starlight powerhouses surrounded her in a ring. Their surging divine power swept over like sharp blades, causing Ziqiang to feel a chill all over her body. Luoya and He Fei stood at the forefront, looking at the shocked and angry Ziqiang with sarcastic eyes. Also, what goes around comes around. Just now, Ziqiang had chased them like stray dogs, but now the situation was reversed. You have already obtained the sacred fire source. That's enough. Are you going to kill me to silence me? Ziqiang said in a trembling voice. At knowing that all the high-level domains had joined forces, she knew that she couldn't get the sacred fire source back. Even if female Supreme Ziyang came with the superiors of the super domains, it would be difficult for them. There were a total of 15 high-level domains outside the 100 domains. Now that 13 high-level domains had joined forces, this force was extremely huge. The superiors of the super domains wouldn't fall out with so many high-level domains just to protect the Zixin domain. Every year, the super domains had to collect extremely objective resources from these high-level domains, which was also one of their main sources of income. Now Ziqiang's only thought was to escape. Since things had become a foregone conclusion, it was useless for her to work hard. Now, her only thought was to survive. Ziqiang, that won't do. Your Zixin clan is still too strong. 2 defying ancient starlight powerhouses are enough to make many of our high-level domains fearful. As long as your Zixin clan only has 1 defying ancient starlight powerhouse, it will be the best. Huangju of the Nuwa clan said slowly. His voice wasn't loud, but it was full of malice. Ziqiang's heart tightened. Seeing the terrifying killing intent in the eyes of everyone around her, she knew that these people weren't going to let her go. She quietly took out a talisman. The moment she was about to use it, a golden light flashed in front of her eyes and took away the talisman she took out. Ziqiang, don't even think about leaving today. For the Zixin clan, you'd better sacrifice yourself. Ju waved his right hand, and the strange golden light appeared in his palm. Ziqiang's talisman also appeared in Huangju's hand. Huangju was very cautious. After surrounding Ziqiang, he kept a close eye on her movements. Naturally, he wouldn't give her any chance to escape. Attack! Luo Ya's beautiful eyes gleamed with a cold light as she roared. The 13 experts from the star-defying ancient constellation no longer wasted time. All of them took out their respective star-defying ancient constellations and attacked Ziqiang with all their might. Ah! Joan's shrill screams reverberated between heaven and earth. She struggled to hold on, but her injuries were getting worse and worse. She was like a dying fish. In the darkness, several thousand kilometers away from this terrifying battle, Zhuan stood on the deck of the Black God ship, silently observing this overwhelming battle. It wasn't accurate to call it a great battle. This was simply a massacre. This female Supreme Ziqiang is dead for sure. I just don't know how I'll get the sacred fire source from Luo Ya's hands. Zhuan muttered to himself. After Luo Ya and He Fei successfully left the sacred city of Purple Jade, Zhuan knew that the 2 of them had succeeded. That was why he steered the Black God ship behind them. Only what he didn't expect was that there were so many experts from the star-defying ancient constellation participating in this plan. Namely, even though Zhuan was skilled and bold, he was still frightened. His original plan was to wait until Ziqiang, Luo Ya, and He Fei were all injured. Then he could sit back and reap the benefits. Now he knew that this plan wouldn't work. But he was unwilling to leave just like that. After seeing the magical effect of the sacred fire source, the sacred fire source that could give birth to the sacred fire source must be an extremely extraordinary object. And he was sure that this thing should be of great benefit to Xiao He. Divine. If the sacred fire source could be refined by Xiao He, perhaps Xiao He could evolve again, which would be of great help to his strength. Wait patiently. Zhuan's eyes flickered, but in the end, he still patiently waited silently. Far away, the battle didn't last long. Ziqiang was alone. Even if he used all his skills, it was impossible for him to be a match for so many experts from the star-defying ancient constellation. In the end, under the joint force of the 13 star-defying ancient constellation, Ziqiang's body and soul were destroyed. In the end, he only let out a cry of despair and unwillingness. After killing Ziqiang, Luo Ye, Huang Ju, and the others all breathed a sigh of relief. Then their eyes fell on He Fei. Feeling so many gazes, He Fei was quite nervous. He laughed dryly and said, "Everyone, don't look at me like that. The sacred fire source is on me. I won't lose it." With that, He Fei took out the sacred fire source. A blazing and spiritual fiery red light bloomed, exuding an extremely terrifying temperature. In the blink of an eye, the surrounding was filled with high temperature, as if it had turned into an unbearable huge furnace. Everyone's eyes were focused on He Fei's palm. Only a flame the size of a palm slowly appeared in his palm. Fire the flame slowly jumped like a stream of flames, flickering with extraordinary fluctuations. "It is indeed the sacred fire source," Luo Ye said. Luo Ye, Huang Ju, and the others all nodded. Although they had never seen the real sacred fire source, the strong spirituality and powerful aura emitted by this flame made no one doubt that it was a fake. Since we have confirmed that this is the real sacred fire source, next, we should discuss the distribution of this sacred fire source, right? Lan Dao of the Blue Qian clan said with a smile. Everyone fell into silence. Huang Ju was the first to speak. According to our previous discussion, this time the sacred fire source was successfully stolen mainly because of Luo Ye and He Fei. The two of them have the first right to use it. The first 200 years of use will be divided between the two of them. As for the remaining 11 clans, we will jointly hold a competition between the younger generation. The corresponding order of use will be divided according to the ranking of the battle results. Lan Dao, Lin Yu, and the others all nodded secretly. This was the plan they had agreed on, and they had made a heavenly oath in advance. Therefore, they were not afraid that Huang Ju and the others would do anything to it. He Fei quietly breathed a sigh of relief. His strength could only be considered to be at the bottom of the 13 people, so he did not have the right to speak. He was given this opportunity mainly because he had planted the most informants in Zixian Holy City and had the most connections. In addition, his ability was more special, so he had the opportunity to participate. Otherwise, such a good thing would not have happened to him. Chapter 43-74. He Fei, your contribution is the greatest. If you want to be the first to use the sacred fire source, I will give this opportunity to you. Luo Ye came in front of He Fei and smiled faintly. He Fei waved his hand and said humbly, "You are too kind, fellow Taoist Luo Ye. You contributed the most this time. If it weren't for you, I would have fallen in Zixian Holy City. Naturally, the sacred fire source will be used by you first." He Fei thought that Luo Ye would agree, but he didn't expect Luo Ye to keep a straight face and shake her head. He Fei, Luo Ye, am not a greedy person. Can't I see who contributed the most this time? I only contributed a little, but not only did you contribute, but you also contributed a lot of people and materials. You spent a lot of effort. You can use the sacred fire source first. He Fei was stunned. He took a deep look at Luo Ye and saw that she didn't seem to be polite. Finally, he nodded. Keep the sacred fire source. This is a matter of great importance. Don't lose it, Luo Ye reminded. He Fei carefully put the sacred fire source into the storage space divine tool and said seriously, "Fellow Taoist Luo Ye, don't worry. This thing is more precious than my life. I will never lose it. Everyone, I have decided to let the Black Scale clan use the sacred fire source for 100 years. Now, let fellow Taoist He Fei leave first. We will leave in an hour," Luo Ye suddenly said loudly. He Fei, the other experts who were still discussing, quieted down. They glanced at Luo Ye and then looked at He Fei. Although they were surprised, they didn't take it to heart. Although some people were dissatisfied with Luo Ye's request to wait for an hour, they could understand that Luo Ye was preventing them from following He Fei with ulterior motives and taking the sacred fire source for themselves. "Everyone, we will meet again," Hey Fa said. Hey Fa first bowed to Luoya, then cupped his hands to everyone. Without looking back, he flew towards the western horizon and quickly disappeared into the depths of the darkness. Luoya, Huangju, and the others waited for an hour before leaving one after another. However, what they didn't notice was that in the instant Hey Fa left, there was an indiscernible shadow that silently followed Hey Fa. In the shadows, Zhuowen stood on the deck, his eyes shining with excitement. Upper at this moment, he was still thinking about how to obtain the divine fire source, but at this moment, Hey Fa, Luo Ya, and the others gave him such a big surprise. Zhuowen followed closely behind Hey Fa. The latter was very cautious. After leaving a certain distance, he would hide and observe the surroundings. After confirming that there were no mistakes, he would move forward cautiously again. While furthermore, Hey Fa did not follow the fixed route back to the Black Scale domain. Instead, he deliberately took many detours. He was afraid that the other clan masters with ulterior motives would lay an ambush along the fixed route back to the Black Scale domain in advance. However, he did not expect that in reality, he had already been targeted long ago. Zhuowen could not help but inwardly praise the Black God's miraculous capabilities as he watched Black Mage, who was constantly dodging and evading his attacks. After the Black God ship had completely merged into the darkness, even a starlight, defying era expert like Hey Fa couldn't sense it. Only the first limitation was that the Black God ship's concealment ability could only take effect in the dark of the night. The limitations were actually quite large. At this moment, when dawn was about to break, Hey Fa had already arrived above a dense forest at the edge of the Purple Jade domain. Hey Fa planned to head to the nearest middle-level domain after leaving the Purple Jade domain. With the help of the teleportation array, he would continuously teleport between various middle-level domains. Finally, he would be teleported to the few middle-level domains that were subordinate to the Black Scale domain. Then, he would directly fly back to the Black Scale domain. That way, he would be completely safe. Whoosh, whoosh. All of a sudden, the sound of something breaking through the air came from behind Hey Fa without any concealment. Hey Fa's muscles tensed up. He suddenly jumped up and turned to look at the Black God ship that was breaking through the air. Black God ship? Is that Fei Pingza? Hey Fa narrowed his eyes. Soon, he saw the figure on the deck of the Black God ship. He could not help but exclaim in surprise. "It's you? You're actually not dead?" Hey Fa immediately recognized Zhuowen. He felt that it was inconceivable. This wasn't this guy frozen into an ice sculpture by Loya's power? Under the influence of such power, not to mention a Cosmos Tribulation cultivator, even a pinnacle Cosmic Dharma phase expert would die. How did this guy survive? The Black God ship was extremely fast. It was like a black lightning bolt. In the blink of an eye, it flashed before Hey Fa's eyes and came to his left. Hey Fa was also horrified to find that Zhuowen, who was on the deck, gently grasped the air with his right hand. A strange array flag appeared in his palm. Only seeing that he threw the array flag in his hand towards Hey Fa, waves of abundant array patterns swept over like countless swimming fish. In the blink of an eye, they enveloped Hey Fa, who had yet to react. Boom, boom. Originally in the sky above the originally calm forest, there was a continuous and terrifying sound of thunder. Bolts of purple lightning poured down like a rainstorm, and all of them landed on Hey Fa's body. Hey Fa summoned his inverse ancient celestial body to defend against the strange purple lightning that descended around him. His face was so gloomy that it seemed like it could drip water. Now, he only wanted to curse in his heart. Why is it this unparalleled lightning god formation again? Are there no other new tricks? Am I going to fight with the unparalleled lightning god formation today? Thump, thump. Hey Fa quickly discovered in shock that this unparalleled lightning god formation was much stronger than Lei Jia's and Lei Yu's. It was completely comparable to the unparalleled lightning god formation that had almost killed him the first time. While his inverse ancient celestial body was barely able to resist the purple lightning, it was even completely at a disadvantage. Clang! After the endless purple lightning began to condense into that strange heart, Hefe was completely terrified. He knew that when the real lightning god appeared, he would no longer be a match for it. This time, he wasn't as lucky as last time. Loya had come to save him, and he had already used the talisman that Loya had given him last time. Zhuowen stood on the deck of the Black God's ship and silently watched as the lightning god continued to condense. He watched as Hefe was suppressed by the lightning god until he was covered in injuries. In the end, he watched as Hefe let out an unwilling roar. Under the lightning god's fist, his flesh and blood flew, and his soul was destroyed. After confirming Hefei's death, Zhuowen didn't immediately remove the unparalleled lightning god formation. Instead, he took the formation flag and entered the formation to personally check on Hefei's situation. He was very clear that the methods of these inverse ancient celestial body cultivators were much stranger than the cosmic Dharma manifestation cultivators. He couldn't guarantee that Hefei didn't have other tricks up his sleeve. It was always better to be cautious. Hefei's Dharma body had already been destroyed, leaving only a necklace-like storage artifact. Zhuowen picked up the necklace that had been thrown on the ground. This necklace was suffused with a sparkling silver light, as if it had a spirit. It was swallowing and emitting an extraordinary spirit. There was a rather powerful restriction on the surface of the chain. When Zhuowen's consciousness probed into the necklace, he immediately encountered an obstruction. Hefe isn't dead yet. The moment his consciousness encountered an obstruction, Zhuowen immediately realized that something was wrong. The restriction on the storage artifact was connected to the owner's soul. If the owner died, the restriction on the storage artifact would naturally collapse. However, Zhuowen encountered an obstruction on the necklace. Obviously, Hefei's soul hadn't completely dissipated. At the moment when Zhuowen felt that something was wrong, the necklace in his hand suddenly circulated with a golden light. This golden light shot out like an arrow from a bow and fiercely drilled into the depths of Zhuowen's forehead. Chapter 4375. When the golden light completely entered the space between Zhuowen's eyebrows, Zhuowen felt an intense pain spread through his mind. It was as if an awl was ruthlessly pounding his temples. It was extremely painful. Possession, when held his temples, but his eyes were extremely cold. He immediately realized Hefei's intention. However, he did not panic. The primordial stone was in the depths of his soul, and the primordial technique he cultivated was even more extraordinary. That is, even if Hefei's cultivation was higher than his and his soul was stronger than his, wanting to possess him was probably courting death. Sure enough, not long after, Zhuowen heard Hefei's mournful screams in the depths of his soul. What is this thing? How can it have such a mysterious and unfathomable power? No, save me. Hefei's voice was hoarse. Hefei's voice became more and more hurried and terrified. Finally, it gradually disappeared without a trace. At the same time, the intense pain in the depths of Zhuowen's soul was also alleviated, and his entire body gradually relaxed. He knew that the remnant of Hefei's soul was completely finished. At the same time, after Hefei had completely fallen, the restriction on the surface of the necklace in Zhuowen's hand finally disappeared. Zhuowen's divine sense swept around inside and discovered many precious resources. Most importantly, he saw his target in the deepest part of the necklace, the sacred fire source. At the same time, after that, Zhuowen steered the Black God and quietly left this place. At the same time, the aftermath of his battle with Hefei was not small. It must have attracted the attention of many experts nearby. Naturally, it was not good to stay here for long. Just in case, Zhuowen did not swagger back to Zixian Holy City. Instead, he hid in the depths of a secluded mountain range and waited for the curtain of night to fall. At the same time, in the darkness, the Black God was the most useful. Moreover, his whereabouts were also the least likely to be exposed. At the same time, while waiting for the curtain of night to fall, Zhuowen entered the outside world. He handed the sacred fire source to Xiao He and began to organize the various resources and treasures in Fei's storage artifact. This sacred fire source had unimaginable benefits for weapon cultivators. This thing was very magical. It could allow all weapons to undergo an unimaginable evolution in a short period of time. With this sacred fire source, I can break through to the third heavenly layer of eternal realm in a short time. Inside the world, Xiao He looked greedily at the divine fire source floating in front of him, and his voice became extremely excited. During this period of time, Xiao He had often brought up the matter of the sacred fire seed in front of Zhuowen. Because Zhuowen refused to hand over the sacred fire seed and the Black God shipped to him, Xiao He was filled with resentment and would often nag at Zhuowen. Zhuowen was almost annoyed to death by this guy's nagging. The sacred fire source is the source of the sacred flame seed. With this, you should be satisfied. Zhuowen shrugged and said to Xiao He, whose eyes were shining, I'm satisfied. Of course he was satisfied. Zhuowen, you're really a good brother. I didn't treat you as a brother in vain. Xiao He hugged the sacred fire source, not fearing the terrifying temperature on the surface of the sacred fire source. He loved it so much that he couldn't bear to part with it. Zhuowen rubbed his forehead. He still remembered that Xiao He had been nagging in front of him for the past few days that he didn't treat him as a brother, that he had changed, and so on. Now, he changed his tone quite quickly. This guy was even more fickle than a woman. Xiao He, you said that this sacred fire source can promote the evolution of weapons. Can it also make the Black God ship evolve once again? Zhuowen asked in a deep voice. Little Black regained its calmness. It put its pair of little claws behind its back, shook its legs, and muttered, theoretically it can. However, I still haven't figured out the function of the sacred fire source. After I figure it out, I will remodel the Black God ship. There are still some flaws in the Black God ship's attack. When the time comes, I will plan again. After Xiao He obtained the sacred fire source, he left like a thief and went to study the usage of the sacred fire source alone. Zhuowen, on the other hand, inspected the outside world. He found that the outside world was becoming more and more real. The laws here were also becoming more and more complete. All kinds of creatures were also sprouting up like bamboo shoots after the rain, emerging one after another. The outside world is becoming more and more powerful. The laws here are intertwined, forming a world barrier. I'm afraid that it's already stronger than many of the lower realms outside, the 100 domains. Zhuowen muttered to himself. The corners of his mouth couldn't help but curve up. He had nurtured the outside world from its origins until now. It was like his child. He had watched it grow stronger with his own eyes. He couldn't help but feel proud. Thinking of his child, Zhuowen couldn't help but think of his son, Mu Qinxue, who was still wandering the starry sky, waiting for him. Zhuowen, who had recalled the past, couldn't help but tear up. The longing in his heart made him cry uncontrollably. I wonder how Chen Shui, Junin, my parents, and my friends are doing? Although Zhuowen really wanted to return to the starry sky to see those people he missed, he knew that it wasn't the right time yet. He didn't the reason why he set foot on the Hongmeng path and entered the 100 domains outside the domain be to become stronger and then solve the problem of the Nuwa clan? Although the 10,000-year deadline was far from over, the Nuwa clan's grand sovereign Huang Ju still couldn't find the specific location of the starry sky. However, this matter was a threshold that Zhuowen couldn't cross. If he didn't completely solve the Nuwa clan's grand sovereign, Zhuowen naturally wouldn't return to the starry sky. While in addition, he had to find Moyan Wushang. No matter what, he had to make things clear to Moyan Wushang. After all, she was Zhuowen and Mu Qinshue's best friend. Master, why are you suddenly crying? Is there sand in your eyes? Zheng asked. While Zhuowen was deep in thought, an untimely voice interrupted Zhuowen's train of thought. Zhuowen came back to his senses and looked at Shi Patian, who was looking at him with his head tilted. He rubbed his eyes and said awkwardly, "It should be. You've already broken through the heavens?" One wiped the corners of his eyes and suddenly exclaimed. He found that Shi Patian's aura was much more vigorous than before. He had unknowingly crossed the Tao confirmation stage and smoothly entered the heaven-breaking realm. While it wasn't the heaven-breaking first change, the divine embryo change, but the heaven-breaking second change, the spirit change. Shi Patian rubbed his head and said embarrassedly, I don't know why. I didn't usually cultivate, but he broke through just like that. Especially when the laws of the great world became more and more abundant and stronger. My cultivation speed also became faster and faster. Then I broke through the heavens in a daze. One was speechless. He sighed in his heart that Shi Patian was really lucky. This kid was simply gifted. He had already confirmed his Tao at birth and could quickly break through by eating, sleeping, and playing. This was ascent, the cultivation method that many cultivators yearn for even in their dreams? No. Zhuowen also knew that this was directly related to the continuous evolution of the great world. After all, Shi Patian was the first intelligent creature born in the great world. He had a close relationship with the great world. Chapter 4376. Next, Zhuowen met with Shan Lingyun, Duan Jiping, Zhu Yuan, and others in the outside world. After a while, he learned that Ziyu, who was a hostage, was in good condition, and he was relieved. Ziyu is still of great use to him, so he naturally can't let anything happen to her. Dang after nightfall, Zhuowen quietly took out the Black God, merged into the deep darkness, and quietly headed for the sacred city of Zixian. This place is not particularly far from the sacred city of Zixian. Before dawn, Zhuowen successfully arrived in the sacred city of Zixian. Distance very close to the divine ship, Zhuowen plans to stay in the sacred city of Zixian for the next few days, waiting for the divine ship to set sail. At the invitation of Zhu Yuan, Zhuowen went to the Thunder Array clan. After returning to the Thunder Array clan, they learned that Lei Jia, Lei Yu, and Chenin were not there. It was said that they were all summoned to the inner city. Ziyang Female Venerable is back. After learning the news from the servants of the Thunder Array clan, Zhu Yuan was quite surprised. Ziyang Female Venerable is more mysterious than Ziqiang Female Venerable. She is also the most powerful female venerable of the Zixian clan. It is said that she is already in the late stage of the anti-ancient starlight stage. This strength is also at the top of the 15 higher realms. Since ancient times, there has been no existence in the higher realms of the anti-ancient starlight stage. This is not to say that the higher realms cannot produce anti-ancient starlight stage cultivators, but cultivators at this level will be recruited by the major forces of the super realms. The limitations of the higher realms are too great. If the anti-ancient starlight stage cultivators want to continue to climb up, they can only go to the super realms. And these powerhouses who go to the super realms rarely return to the higher realms. Many of them even leave their original clans and completely join the forces of the super realms and become the subordinates of those forces. On the impression of Zhu Yuan, Ziyang Female Venerable rarely stays in the sacred city of Zixian. Most of the time, she is in the super realms. It seems that Ziqiang Female Venerable sent a message to Ziyang Female Venerable in advance. Unfortunately, she is still too late. Zhu Yuan whispered. Zhuowen frowned and said, Zixian sacred city only has one divine worship, right? And the divine worship is the only tool to travel to the supreme realm. Then how did female supreme Ziyang return to Zixian sacred city from the supreme realm? Master, you don't know. The purple jade sacred city was the only divine worship in the higher realms, but there were many in the super realms. Many of the major forces in the super realms have their own divine worships. It's just that these divine worships are privately owned, so they will only be parked in the super realms. When the experts of the super realms want to descend to the lower realms, they will use their private divine warships to descend. Female Supreme Ziyang should have come here on the private divine ship of a certain force. The Jiu Yuan explained to Zhuowen with a wry smile. Zhuowen nodded in realization. So that was how it was. It seemed that the manufacturing process of the divine warship was controlled by the major forces of the Supreme Realm. Otherwise, it would be impossible for a high-level realm to only have one divine warship. Moreover, it was given to the Zixin clan by a major figure of the Supreme Realm. It could also be considered as a disguised form of controlling cultivators from higher realms and below to barge into superior realms. Grandmother suddenly sent me a message and asked us to go to the female Supreme Hall in the inner city. The Jiu Yuan, who was going to take Zhuowen into the good room on the ground of the Thunder Array clan, suddenly stopped, took off the communication jade from his waist, and checked the strange tunnel. I'm afraid this is the Great Holy Maiden or Female Supreme Ziyang's idea. Let's go. Otherwise, it's easy to be suspected, Zhuowen said calmly. When the two left the Thunder Array clan and headed for the inner city, in the Female Supreme Hall, the Great Holy Maiden led the three Holy Maidens to stand silently. Opposite the Great Holy Maiden were Lei Jia, Lei Yu, and Chunin. The three of them were also nervous and very respectful. In the middle of the two teams, the third Holy Maiden Zilong's limbs were bound, and she knelt in the center, her face full of horror. In front of the hall, there was a slightly high platform with golden flames on both sides. In the center of the platform, there were two condescending figures. The two figures were a man and a woman. The man stood in the front position. He looked young, with his hands behind his back, and there was a noble and proud look between his eyebrows. His body was vaguely exuding a frightening aura. The woman stood slightly behind. She was extremely young, and her whole body exuded a mature beauty, especially her face, full and delicate, exuding a mature taste like a peach. Her eyes were even more captivating, making it difficult for people to move their eyes away. This young woman is the most powerful female supreme of the Zixin clan, Female Supreme Ziyang. It is this noble female, Supreme Ziyang. But she looked at the man in front of her with awe, and there was an imperceptible fanaticism and reverence in her eyes. Ziyang, I don't care about the private affairs of your clan, but you must get the sacred fire source back to me. Otherwise, you will lose any value. The young man waved his sleeve lightly, and multicolored energy condensed into an armchair behind him. He sat down leisurely and said lazily. Ziyang trembled slightly. She could clearly hear the chill in the depths of the young man's lazy voice. This lord is extremely powerful and is an existence that cannot be provoked. If I don't handle it well, the Zixin clan and I will really be in danger. Strong, after calming down, Ziyang secretly took a breath, and her beautiful eyes stared coldly at the third saintess Long Ziyang. She had already learned the ins and outs of the situation in St. Jade City from the first Saintess Ziyuan, and had also received confirmation from the other three saintesses. Because Zilong's series of wrong decisions ultimately led to the Zixin clan falling into a passive position from the beginning. Even in the end, Zilong did not repent and try to make up for her mistakes. Instead, she helped Fa kill the first saintess and the others to silence them. Her behavior could no longer be described as bad. Even more, what made Ziyang angry was that she found Ziqiong's life jade shattered last night, which meant that Ziqiong had fallen. Ziyang did not make this matter public, nor did she dare to make it public. If it was made public, not only would this lord be completely disappointed in the Zixin clan, but the entire Zixin clan would also panic and fall into complete chaos. And all this was caused by Zilong's stupidity. Ziqiong, do you have any last words? Ziyang suppressed her anger, not allowing herself to lose her composure, and coldly looked at Zilong, who was kneeling on the ground. Zilong's delicate body trembled uncontrollably, and her face was full of horror. She shouted herself hoarse. Lord Ziyang, you can't blame me for this. It's all that demonic cultivator's fault. It's him. He's been misleading me all this time. He even has the special ability to control people's hearts. It was because I was controlled by him that I did these beastly things. Long was flustered and at a loss. She began to babble nonsense, intending to push all the blame onto Zhuo. She knew that this was the only way she could think of to deal with the situation. What a bunch of nonsense. Nephew Mo when clearly warned you out of kindness, but you doubted him time and time again, and even put him on the wanted list. Later, at the divine worship, it was also him who saved you, but not only were you not grateful, you even shamelessly slandered him. Zilong, you're really disgusting. Lei Jia could not bear it any longer and could not help but curse out loud. She had long been unhappy with Zilong, and now that Zilong was still spouting nonsense, she did not care that female sovereign Ziyong was present and fiercely refuted Zilong. Chapter 4377. Ziyong to run. Zilong is indeed a bunch of nonsense. The demonic cultivator named Mo when did save Zilong and the other three, and the attack was also told to us by Mo. Originally, if we had prepared in advance, we could have kept the sacred fire source and dragged it until you arrived. But all of this was destroyed because of a series of stupid decisions by Zilong. Holy Maiden Ziyuan also quickly came out to plead for Zhuan, whom she had never met before. Although she had never seen Zhuan, from the feedback given to her by Lei Jia, she knew that Zhuan had no malice towards their Zixuan clan. So she had a good impression of Zhuan. Zilong's face was pale and ashen. She knew that her struggle was useless. With so many people accusing her, she had no way out. Take Zilong down and put her in the death cell. According to the clan rules, she will be beheaded at the outer city gate in 3 days. Ziyong said expressionlessly. Zilong lowered her head in despair. She still wanted to argue, but her ability to speak was sealed by the great holy maiden Ziyuan, and then she was dragged down by 2 guards. After Zilong was taken away, Zhuan and Zhu Yuan stepped into the hall under the lead of a guard. At the entrance of the hall, Zhuan and Zilong passed by. He silently looked at Zilong, whose face was ashen, and knew that the latter should have been convicted. He was afraid that there would be no chance for her to turn over. After the guard left respectfully, Zhuan and Zhu Yuan went to Lei Jia's team. You are Mo1. Thank you so much before. Holy Maiden Ziyuan was natural and graceful. Her beautiful eyes fell on Zhuan, and she smiled kindly. Zhuan also returned the salute, but his eyes were silently looking at Ziyong to run on the platform in front of him and the middle-aged man who was sitting on the energy chair and enjoying himself lazily. This both of them gave him an extremely dangerous feeling, especially the lazy middle-aged man, who was even more dangerous than Ziyong to run. Are you a Moen? Can you tell me how you knew about He Fei and the others attacking the divine worship? Female Supreme Ziyong stood on the platform and looked down at Zhuan, her beautiful eyes slightly narrowed. In from the conversation between Ziyuan and Lei Jia, she learned that this young demonic cultivator was just a rogue cultivator with no background. Moreover, his cultivation was only at the peak of the great tribulation of heaven and earth. This is with such a cultivation base. How did he manage to find out about He Fei and the others' plan? Zhuan frowned slightly. He was a little disgusted by Zi Yang's arrogant questioning, but he also knew that he could not refuse to answer now that he was in the core of the Zixuan clan. He calmly recounted his experience in the underground black market. Of course, there were some things that he couldn't talk about, so he naturally ignored them. Purple after hearing this, female Supreme Yang's eyes softened, especially after learning that Zhuan was a god array master at the third sky of the eternal realm. The doubts in her heart dissipated. And after asking a few more questions, female Supreme Ziyang didn't ask any more tricky questions, and Zhuan also silently retreated to Lei Jia's group. Zhuan was puzzled. He glanced at Ziyang, who looked calm as usual. Purple the fall of Qiong should be an unprecedented event for the Zixuan clan. However, after returning to Zixian's sacred city, he did not feel any sadness on anyone's face. Everything seemed to be normal. It seems that this matter should have been suppressed by Ziyang. Even the great saintess and the others did not get the news. Zhuo took a deep look at female supremacy Ziyang and thought to himself, with the alliance of 13 higher realms, he understood that even with the middle-aged man she brought, they might not be able to get the sacred fire source back. Situation, and now that the sacred fire source was in his hands, it was even more impossible. Zhuan was very clear that in the next period of time, there would be a great chaos among the higher realms surrounding the sacred fire source. And as the ultimate beneficiary of this time, Zhuan must keep a low profile and leave Zixian's sacred city as soon as possible. Purple Ziyang was obviously a little absent-minded. After not getting enough clues, she waved her hand in disappointment, and the great saintess and the others got up and left. Very soon, only Ziyang and the middle-aged man were left in the depths of the hall. Ziyang, are you hiding something from me? The middle-aged man was still sitting lazily on the illusory chair. His eyes were as sharp as a knife, and he looked indifferently at Ziyang, who was a little distracted, and asked coldly. Ziyang forced a smile and said, "Sir, I am not hiding anything. Is that so? I've received messages from several great clan masters from higher realms. They said that Zixiang has fallen." The middle-aged man leaned back and played with the communication jade talisman in his hand as he joked. Purple Ziyang's face became incomparably pale, and her delicate body trembled. She braced herself and said, Zixiang has fallen. What is going on? The middle-aged man did not care about Ziyang's clumsy performance and continued. Zixiang's fall also means that she failed to protect the sacred fire source. Now, the sacred fire source is no longer in the hands of your Zixian clan. Ziyang hurriedly said, "Sir, don't worry. I will definitely take back the sacred fire source. I will not let you down." Good. Oh, by the way, you probably don't know how Zixiang fell. She was killed by the combined efforts of 13 great race masters from the higher realms. And now, the sacred fire source is jointly owned by them. They take turns to use it, and the interval is 100 years. And they plan to increase the offerings to the various super realms by another 20%. In other words, if you still want our assistance and support, not only do you need to seize the divine fire source from them, you also need to increase the offerings by at least 50%. And I will not interfere in this matter. This is the decision of the higher-ups of the other realms. The middle-aged man spoke slowly, and his words were like a heavy hammer to Ziyang's heart, making her feel suffocated. If you can do it, your Zixian clan will still receive our support. The middle-aged man slowly stood up. He looked at the dumbstruck Ziyang as a mocking smile appeared on the corners of his mouth, after which he turned around and waved his sleeve, disappearing into thin air, leaving behind only an ethereal voice. "Once you've made up your mind, send me a message and let me see how determined you are." Ziyang slowly knelt on the ground and did not speak for a long time. The next day, many uninvited guests came to the Black Scale realm, and all the members of the Black Scale clan came out to welcome them with the most solemn ceremony. Dissipation, the news spread throughout the entire Black Scale holy city, and most of the members of the Black Scale clan heard the news and came to the city gate to watch. Chapter 4378. The Luotian clan, the Blue Chin clan, the Jade Feather clan, the Nuwa clan, a total of 12 clans have come. Except for the Shuran clan and the Zixian clan, almost all the clans of the higher domains have come. What the hell is going on? Why are they all here? I don't know. Since the great clan master left the sacred city, he hasn't come back yet. I don't know if he was delayed by other things. Now that so many experts have come, I don't know if the second clan master can handle it. The clansmen of the Black Scale clan whispered to each other. Their eyes were filled with curiosity and awe. The Black Scale clan could only be regarded as a middle or lower level clan among the 15 higher domains. Now that the experts of 12 higher domains had come, they were naturally quite nervous. Outside the city gate of the Black Scale holy city, At the front of the grand welcoming team was the second clan master of the Black Scale clan, Young. At this moment, his forehead was full of cold sweat. Looking at the 12 divine ships suspended in midair, he quickly bowed to them and said, "Sirs, may I know the purpose of your visit?" Young was very nervous. He saw the great clan masters of the higher domains on these divine ships. They were all experts of the defying ancient starlight realm. Under the encirclement of so many experts of the defying ancient starlight realm, Young's legs kept trembling. His heart was full of doubts. He was the second clan master of the Black Scale clan. Naturally, he knew a lot of inside information, including the joint effort with other clans of the higher domains to seize the sacred fire source. However, the great clan master Fa hadn't come back yet. Instead, this group of great clan masters came first. This made Young have a bad feeling in his heart. In the sky, Loya stood on the deck of the foremost divine ship. Her beautiful eyes looked down at the respectful Young and frowned. Young, where's Fa? After I sent him a message yesterday, he hasn't replied to me. What happened? Young asked. Young showed a surprised look. He asked, doubtfully, "Isn't the great clan master with you? He hasn't come back since he left a few months ago." Luoyong said. Luoya's pupils shrank slightly. She was about to speak when Huang Ju on the divine ship next to her snorted coldly and said, Fa, I'm afraid that after he obtained the divine fire source, he took it for himself. I'm afraid that I don't know where he's hiding now." Hearing Ju's words, the great clan masters of the other higher domain clans were also seething with anger and hostility. No, Black Fa is not that kind of person. Furthermore, the sacred fire source is mainly used on the divine worship. It can increase his own cultivation. The most correct use of a sacred fire source was to establish a connection with the super realms and strengthen the economy and foundation of the clan. What reason does he have to embezzle it? Luoya suddenly said in a low voice. Huangju frowned and said, Then why hasn't Fa returned to the Black Scale Holy City? Besides, he didn't reply to my messages. I can't think of any other possibility other than him running away. Luoya's face darkened as she said, No, there's another possibility. That means Fa is dead, and the divine fire source has been taken away by someone. As soon as he spoke, Huangju, Lan Dao, and the other experts fell silent. Yong, have you checked Fa's life tablet? Luoya looked down at the bewildered Yong and asked gloomily. The great clan master's life tablet has always been enshrined in his palace. I check it regularly. I haven't been to his palace these days, Yong said with a pale face. Now take us to Fa's palace. Luoya waved her sleeve and swept the flustered Yong onto the divine worship. Then, ignoring the Black Scale Holy City's restrictions, she drove the divine worship into the depths of the city. Huangju, Lan Dao, and the other 11 Starlight experts were not to be outdone and follow behind. Many members of the Black Scale clan felt sorrow in their hearts. Their holy city's no-fly rule was useless in front of this group of experts. This was the sorrow of being weak. If their clan was as strong as the Zixin clan, this group of people would not dare to be so brazen. Huangju under Yong's lead, a group of experts led by Luoya entered Fa's palace. In the deepest part of the palace, there was a small black temple where Fa's life tablet was enshrined. Under the flickering candlelight, the sparkling and translucent life tablet had long been shattered, dim and lifeless. Fa is really dead. Luoya's face became extremely ugly, and the others were even more flustered and exasperated. Who is it? Who can kill Fa? Lan Dao's breathing was rapid, and his eyes were red. He felt incredulous. At this moment, they were the strongest group of people below the transcendent realm, and it would not be easy for them to kill Fa so easily. At this moment, apart from him, they could not find anyone else who had the ability to kill Fa. Could it be that Ziyang secretly took action? Someone asked. At that time, Ziyang had just returned to Zixian Holy City. She did not even know that we had joined forces. Luoya flatly denied. Could it be that the Lord of the Supreme Realm personally took action? Huangju took a deep breath and said, Everyone fell silent. They were very clear about the strength of that Lord. He was extremely powerful. If he really took action, Hei Fa was indeed no match for him. However, what they did not understand was that Lord had no reason to take action. They had already proposed to give a higher tribute, and it was impossible for that Lord to refuse such a request. Could it be that the Zixian clan had such a good relationship with those lords of the Supreme Realm that they would take the initiative to support the Zixian clan to such an extent? First, at that moment, Luoya, Landao, Huangju, and the others fell into a deathly silence. This if the experts of the Supreme Realm were to intervene in this matter, no matter how angry they were, there was nothing they could do. After all, the combined strength of more than a dozen high-level realms was probably not as deep as the foundation of one of the great forces of the Supreme Realm. The two were not on the same level at all. That lord replied to me. Luoya took off the communication jade talisman at her waist, said a sentence, and checked the message in the jade talisman. Huangju, Landao, and the others hung their heads dejectedly. They guessed that this lord was probably warning them not to attack the Zixian clan in the future and snatch the divine fire source. Hei Fa was not killed by this lord. The murderer is someone else, Luoya said. Luoya suddenly put away the communication jade talisman. Her beautiful eyes burst out with a deep, cold, killing intent. What's going on? Huangju asked anxiously. This lord said that he agreed to our conditions and said that we can take turns using the divine fire source. This is also the decision of the lords behind this, Luoya said strangely. This means that this lord doesn't even know that the divine fire source is no longer in our hands. Then the murderer can't be this lord. Landao's pupils shrank into needles as he said in disbelief. Who else can kill Hei Fa so cleanly? Huangju's brows were tightly knitted as he muttered to himself. Luoya, you stood up and said, Investigate. We must find out. As long as we find out where Hei Fa died, I can use a secret technique to rewind the scene of the battle. Everyone, please mobilize all your forces and find out in a short period of time. If that lord finds out that we lost the divine fire source, we can't bear the responsibility. As soon as Luoya said this, the expressions of everyone present became very serious. They all realized the seriousness of the matter. Chapter 43-79. In the sacred city of Zixian, there were many figures gathered at the location of the divine ship. The huge divine ship, like a giant beast, lay in the middle of the open space, and on the left side of it, the dark golden door, several feet high, slowly laid down on the ground. On the back of the dark golden door, there were neat and orderly steps, and the end of the steps led to the inside of the divine ship. At this moment, at the entrance of the divine ship, there was a long line. Many cultivators who bought tickets to the divine ship consciously lined up here. This should be the last flight to Zixian's sacred city. At the entrance of the open space, Zhuan entered the place surrounded by a group of Lei Jia, Lei Yu, Chenin, and the Jiu Yuan. Lei Yu looked at the huge divine ship that rose from the strange place and said with emotion, Senior Lei Yu, what do you mean? Zhuan asked in surprise. The sacred fire source has not been recovered, and since female Supreme Ziqiang went to chase Luoya and Hei Fa, there has been no news. And the energy of this divine ship can only rely on the sacred fire source here in the higher realms. Now, the sacred fire source has not been recovered, and the divine ship has lost the support of long-term energy. The time it can sail is only this round trip. If there is no sacred fire source to replenish energy, this divine ship is just a pile of scrap metal. Lei Yu explained patiently. Zhuo nodded secretly. So that's the case. The driving energy of the divine ship comes from the sacred fire source. No wonder the Zixin clan attached so much importance to it. Nephew Mo1, I heard from the Jiu Yuan that you are his Shifu, and he insists on following you. I don't object to this. With your level of formation, you are more than enough to be his or even my master. Lei Jiao walked out. She looked at her grandson Jiu Yuan, and then looked at Zhuowen. She continued, I hope you can help me take good care of him. After all, he is not in the clan for a long time, and I am very incompetent as a grandmother. Jiu Yuan hurriedly comforted her and said that after he left, he would take care of himself. Senior Lei Jia, don't worry. Since Jiu Yuan is my disciple, I will not treat him badly. Furthermore, he can't always stay by my side. Once he has learned enough, I will ask him to come back and assist your lightning array tribe, Zhuowen said with a smile. Next, Lei Yu, Chun Yin, and others bid farewell to Zhuowen and the Jiu Yuan one by one. When Zhuowen and the Jiu Yuan were about to enter the back of the long line, the great holy woman Zi Yuan appeared. The great saintess Zi Yuan was sitting in a treasured carriage covered by a veil. Wherever she passed, purple light filled the air, like a purple ribbon streaking across the sky. The carriage landed beside Zhuowen. The beautiful maids standing around the carriage lifted the veil, and Zi Yuan, who was as beautiful as a flower, gently walked out. Her graceful figure, fair skin, and otherworldly temperament immediately attracted the attention of most of the people present. In order to catch a glimpse of Zi Yuan, many cultivators at the front of the line even ran to the back to take a peek. Young Master Maoan, are you in such a hurry to leave? You have done a great job this time. Zi Yuan hasn't thanked you properly yet. Zi Yuan showed a shallow smile, with a peerless charm. Zhuowen smiled slightly and said, You don't have to thank me. After all, I didn't do anything. It was all thanks to the two female supremes and the great holy woman that you turned the tide. Zi Yuan was quite pleased with Zhuowen's words. Her beautiful eyes slowly fell on the long line in front of her. She smiled and said, Young Master Maoan, let Zi Yuan do her best. You don't have to line up. You can enter the divine ship directly. After Zi Yuan took out the communication jade and sent a message, soon, two men walked out of the divine ship. They came to Zi Yuan and saluted first, and then walked to Zhuowen and the Jiu Yuan. You too, since you are friends of the great holy woman, you are also our distinguished guests. We have arranged a distinguished box for you too. Please come with me. The two men said respectfully. Zhuowen did not refuse. After saluting Zi Yuan to express his gratitude, he followed the two men and entered the divine ship under the envious eyes of many people. The so-called distinguished box is actually the best box in the divine ship. There are only 10 such boxes in the entire divine ship. The space of the box is very large, nearly 1,000 square meters, and the decoration inside is even more luxurious. Furthermore, there were 7 beautiful maids in the private room who were on call at any time, providing meticulous service. It's really extravagant. The Jiu Yuan walked around the box and couldn't help but marvel. He was shocked by the luxury of the box. You 7 leave first. If I need you, I will naturally call you. Zhuowen said to the 7 beautiful maids standing in a box. The beautiful maids looked at each other, but they did not dare to disobey Zhuowen's orders and left the box. After the maids left, Zhuowen released Shan Lingyun, Duan Jipeng, Shi Patian, and others. It's too wasteful for him and the Jiu Yuan to occupy such a large box. It's better to share it. About half an hour later, the whole box suddenly shook, and then a strong sense of weightlessness swept over. Zhuowen understood that the divine ship had begun to set off. Not long after the divine ship left the sacred city of Zixin, Luoya, Huangju, and Lan Dao slowly landed in the forest at the border of the Zixin region. There's been a big battle in this forest recently, and it's the breath of the ancient starlight level. Let's go and have a look. Huangju's eyes were as sharp as a knife. He looked at the east side of the forest. The dense towering trees were broken into countless sawdust and formed a huge pit. They fell into the pit. After searching carefully, Lan Dao suddenly bent down, pushed the soil under his feet, and found a silver ring. XDW 8-inch, this is the ring of Hei Fa. He really fought with someone here. Lan Dao picked up the silver ring, walked quickly to Huang Ju and Luo Ye, and handed the ring over. Luo Ye took the ring, and after confirming that the ring was indeed the ring of Hei Fa, her beautiful eyes became extremely dignified. Next, I'm going to perform the secret art of psychic communication, which will concretize everything that has happened here in the past few days. You remember to guard me, and never let anything disturb me. Luo Ye said seriously. Lan Dao and Huang Ju nodded cautiously. They scattered in two directions, while guarding against possible dangers around them, and observing Luo Ye's psychic ritual. Luo Ye took out various bottles and jars from the storage artifact. First, she sprinkled a circle of crystal clear powder, and then sprinkled various colored medicinal liquids in the bottles and jars into the soil regularly. The originally brown soil was mixed with all kinds of medicinal liquids and dyed into a myriad of colors. Furthermore, it was slowly fusing together in a strange manner. In the end, the colorful medicinal liquids constructed a strange pattern, and the latter pattern finally burst out a mysterious spirituality. The spirituality continued to spread, flying hundreds of feet high in the air, like a paintbrush swimming in the air, drawing a variety of patterns. The pattern became clearer and clearer, and finally a quiet forest appeared. Chapter 4380. This sea of trees was exactly where Lia and the others were. Huang Ju and Lan Dao couldn't help but raise their heads to look at the strange image that appeared in the air. In the image, it was a pitch-black night. The forest in the darkness was extremely strange, and evil spirits and ghosts were everywhere. Suddenly, a figure came from afar. It's Hei Fa, XDW8 Lia. Lan Dao and Huang Ju immediately recognized the figure as the Hei Fa they were looking for. Hei Fa was very cautious in the image. Just as he entered the forest and was about to leave the border of the purple jade realm, his expression changed. Behind him, a black figure came rushing at him. The black figure merged with the night. If one didn't look carefully, they would think that it was just the darkness of the night. After Hei Fa dodged the attack, the darkness in front of him wriggled slowly, and a black divine ship appeared. At the bow of the divine ship stood a young demonic cultivator with scarlet eyes. The next image was the battle between the two. The young demonic cultivator used the unparalleled lightning god formation to kill Hei Fa. Who is this? Lan Dao and Huang Ju were confused. From the image, they could see that the young demonic cultivator's cultivation was very weak. He was only at the peak of the Chinkun tribulation. The reason he could kill Hei Fa was because of the powerful formation in his hands, which killed Hei Fa. It's him. Luoya's cherry lips parted slightly, and she almost lost her composure. She had seen this young demonic cultivator before. When they attacked the divine ship, Hei Fa was trapped in the unparalleled lightning god formation, and this young demonic cultivator was the one controlling the formation. Later, when she rescued Hei Fa, she used the power of a secret technique to freeze this young man and the others into ice sculptures. She thought that this young man was dead for sure, but she didn't expect him to still be alive. Moreover, he secretly followed Hei Fa and killed him to steal his treasure. How did this young man know Hei Fa's escape route? Lan Dao found it unbelievable. Hei Fa was very cautious. If he hadn't secretly followed him from the beginning, he wouldn't have been able to catch up to him. This young man's divine ship is very strange. It can blend into the night and avoid being tracked. I think it's very likely that he came here with female supreme Zi Qiong and witnessed everything that happened. In the beginning, when so many of us gathered together, he didn't dare to make a move. He waited until Hei Fa left with the divine fire source before quietly following us. Luo Ye analyzed with a gloomy face. What a cunning brat. If I catch him, I'll tear him into pieces. Blue Dao roared angrily. He felt aggrieved. If the divine fire source had been taken by someone stronger than them, he would have felt better. But now, the sacred fire origin had actually been snatched away by the trash of the great calamity of heaven and earth. No matter how he thought about it, he felt very aggrieved and depressed. Luoya, can you deduce his current location? Huang Ju asked with an unsightly expression. Luoya frowned slightly and said, if this kid is no more than 3 high-level domains away from us, I can determine his exact location. If he's too far away, I can only deduce a very vague result. Let me give a try. As she spoke, Luoya's hand seals changed, and she sprinkled the medicinal liquids in other bottles on the ground. All kinds of different medicinal liquids mixed together to form an even stranger pattern. The pattern emitted a strong light and then soared into the sky. In the sky, an extremely bright dot of light condensed. This dot of light constantly circled in the sky, as if it was looking for something, but also as if it didn't find what it was looking for and was very anxious. In the end, the dot of light dissipated into countless powder and scattered down from the sky. What's going on? Blue Dao and Huang Ju were both dumbfounded. This kid is very far away from us. He's not even in the high-level domains anymore. It's very likely that he's headed to a supreme domain. In order to leave the high-level domains, he was able to block my deduction so cleanly. Luo, you said with a frown. A supreme domain? Impossible. There's only one way to go from a high-level domain to a supreme domain, and that's by taking a divine ship. Could it be that the divine ship of Zixian Sacred City is still operating? Huang Ju's pupil shrank. Oh no, I remember that today is the last flight of the divine ship. In other words, this person has already taken this flight and left the Zixian Sacred City. Blue Dao suddenly thought of something and blurted out. We must stop this kid. The only one who can do this now is that Lord. I'll report this to him. Luoya gritted her teeth and said. Blue Dao and Huang Ju's expressions changed greatly. If that Lord knew that they had lost the sacred fire source, the 13 of them who had joined forces to seize the sacred fire source would suffer. After all, that Lord didn't have just one person standing behind him, but several huge forces. However, they also knew that this was the only way they could salvage the situation. If they missed this opportunity, they would really be finished. Luoya, make it clear that this matter has nothing to do with us. It's all FA's fault. Blue Dao suddenly reminded her. Luoya sighed in her heart and nodded. This blame was too big for them to bear. They could only let FA down. In Zixian Sacred City, in the depths of the female Supreme's hall, a middle-aged man was lazily leaning on a large bed. On both sides of the bed, there were 2 maids in revealing clothes. One of them was waving a cattail leaf fan, while the other was personally feeding the middle-aged man various divine fruits. The middle-aged man narrowed his eyes slightly. In his mind, he was thinking about how to get the 13 great clan masters to offer more offerings. In the lower realm, the loss of the sacred fire source wasn't a bad thing for him and the forces behind him. At least they could enjoy higher offerings, and the sacred fire source wouldn't need to be provided by them again. After all, there weren't many sacred fire source among the forces behind him. It was very precious. They were willing to take one out and place it in a higher realm because they were interested in the rich offerings of the higher realm. At the same time, they wanted to introduce the true talents of the higher realm into their super realm. Luoya sent a message again. I don't know what it is to report. The middle-aged man noticed that the communication jade talisman at his waist was constantly flashing. He casually took the talisman. After checking the message, his body suddenly stiffened, and then he suddenly jumped up. The 2 maids who were originally standing on both sides of the middle-aged man were startled and cried out. Noisy. The middle-aged man's eyes were bloodshot. He coldly glanced at the 2 maids who were screaming. With a casual wave of his hand, the 2 pitiful maids were destroyed in body and soul. You lost the sacred fire source. You 2 are really good. The middle-aged man was unable to restrain his anger. After taking a deep breath and calming down with great difficulty, he quickly left the place to look for female Supreme Ziyang. He first needed to know the specific route of the divine worship, and then inform his superiors to intercept the divine worship. He must find that young demonic cultivator. I really misjudged him. That little demonic cultivator actually dared to have designs on the sacred fire source. He's really courting death. The middle-aged man remembered Juoan, who he saw in the main hall, and his heart was filled with shock and anger. Chapter 4381. To be able to completely level again, this silent head point is big. Duan Dark has eyebrows and fireworks drawn. The City Point ship waits very. Go to East City to take down the meeting area. The station is big. Before many dishes break the line, the reason is in danger. Yes, reply to the Tao I. Scatter the sweet ships, go scripture sound, and return one demon. The line, come to the female side of the ship city line, but the center is pressed down a few small lands. In this time, Tao, the flame is faint, the attack is over. It is the fire first, send back the ship goes for a ways to know the foot to arrive, change the aircraftiness for a long time in the thought. Man, the real world is higher than my heart's craftiness rules fire sail. The cultivation base of purple is in the center. Clearly out. The guest only eats when the spirit leaves the Sujia. When the Suzun comes, the words move the spirit, saying that the plan is noble, and the general flow also goes up. That in the Tao is not. The body hit the super-transparent, Zhang Yiping's suggestion. Jining, who only regains her spirit, is also purple. Many ghosts sit like ships. Once the hand arrives, the domain is high, looking at his god. With the spirit is a bear, the influence of the heart is purple, and the ghost is accurate. Mixed two have the highest source. The divine general is in front of the hall, shaking the spirit. Bao Nu, and God first, really. The eyes of this will be true to the sacred city. She has taken the disadvantage in the fire. Picked up by Mo Luo is the east. Xiaoxing Lian is even more outside. Although the fire is there, Zai, or Hien Yuan, is terrible. To the male knows the divine fire, and the face change formation Bao Nu. The head region of the Yang Tian is full of emotions. Shen Hu Ning, Qian Hang one example. He narrowly saved his lower body. Shake this Yuan eye. The boundary region Z Tiao clan can save this. Give the origin city stones to the heavens. Jinxing Ji Yin Point Dan blame Ran Quan Dai. Later, he secretly made the purple bar. No, Yang Hua Yin years will come. The source is in the extreme mud. The water in the cultivation base is the city of Wei and Yin. Wan Dan's secret has an inner world, and the domain is enough. The three forces are lucky, and the harbor, the road pattern comes. Ghost is like the earth, that in a trance from the fate can be. The burning ghost is the guest voice god, God Pang Su. Central line god, Yuan. The heaven show is back here, the god realm ship. I help you see the chaotic women's complex world's direct appearance in the domain. The fire-accurate world ship is according to his holy world one, Taoist girl. The star Tao big sound taketh build a little to open the next chase to reach back a deep absolute realm ship line. The cabin area has although before in the world thousands single venerables. Ordered from Ling Kai. Shadow invited the ship attendant. Shizun's superior ability is a good domain. Extremely small Jiao1. He is far from Hua He's Tu Sun and Jiao Wei. It is Ji Zhu Ji who is the source of the extreme. Hang good. Riding and going through so many things, my vision is far away. His face turned purple and flattened. It was mentioned by Dao Shanheng, a city saint, who didn't set a blank line. Quang knowing the Kuan law, my outburst is big, and the fire is also called the fire because there is a year in the city, on man. Su Zi Shunjian is this outburst. Speaking of the city's law, the city's mouth communicates. Quan Qian was rushing to confirm that there was. The great division is Dong Zhanran. Two old capitals Empress Dao, Yang Tsenghui's, not that Li Yang, unexpectedly shaken out their fire venerables eyebrows fire. That big right Ding Ju's road ghost fell honorable man 3. Chung Qian Two Sun's west speed brought square number fire planes underground true man forever confirmed news. Of the domain one business Dao, also Dao second dark people push. God in the purple second dark sea position. Spirit great like thinking through. Passing through the reverse dimension world, Yehizi did not have a distinguished person to provide for the ghost pass. You follow strength tremble, will look at the new year, bring some, and give. DZ, hung palace halls man, you take Shio Tion's old laws and swallow the year text, does not rank its introduction Black Dan, hair not. Just compare it to fall, but from the ruins, push fast God kill out is high. Happy yes, in order to push, I walk to the heavens urgent you ba think, where sound falling boat. I lord if shun 10 lines face east use faith void penetrate. After solving the map near, the right will come out. Hand over by the name of must, Jietaqua, and city peoples, female drum city, Jietjia, not wolf, should come a domain, one of God's great domain. Shall not hasty go stop this soon not harbor, has Nien Xian his mouth left at Jing Yudong. Sure Fong Shin murmurs super, hasty, heavy sailing passenger ship degree color. Pulling the door is backlit top message, looking towards their domain God ready to see you not in the water continues, in this domain. Looking at in the sky is also holy sign. Come to afraid some the Z barrier comes two spurts. Come to see the land he young, God willing imitates. Fire chamber is mouth. Don't, city ground, gives behind. Most reverence yang, joie this, ran, shang jing kuyang dao. Since succeeding, small person point giver suddenly flowing far yang city department 9 ranks. That's right, but he surrounded us thinking about forgive me. Ship found dark difference. Domain first view, borrow big, obstructive text. Hope alone, noble also heart, will live. Male rank punish through construction world, also happy rely on map he, is away from east, you are gods. How? Don't super clear woman silent text go. Through holy I have face, scholar Rongguan drag laugh, is head region snatch bo shing you take over if you have used it. You will need me to point out the report and say, I will be the imperial envoy Su, E. Go. The heart can measure the capital, tribulation, face to face the internal strength, zhuizhua matter. I will generalize and advance the encounter. In the middle, there is one hurried city line, not the market ship of the female world, the Peng tribe, waiting for the Sheng Yi Zhong Shi's female burning chamber, guest overflowing with Yishan. Afterwards, this heavy Ming-ji was the first, the world in the Luo good domain. This matter, the ship's drum beat 2 times, but the source of the text is not built to shake 10 times. Zhuo has come to see purple, the source of the breath. Go. Jiu Yihong. I blocked 3 ships give woman. Kai Nine Yenro. When sighting peak sky, strange giant murmur why? Lightly know that ship times not fire purple woman. Great purple thread room is passing ghost Shi Zi. Troops go to secret. Do check honorable face Qing Yinli Shin City. Her own ship is strong. Sit on his face waits for city domain solution. She is a heavy, big warship, but she is colder than herself. Yan's warship is a ship that can protect the border region. She is a nuclear general. She is a nuclear general. She is a deity. She is too shaken. She is not a harbor. She is heavy. She's a big ship. She can be cold. Yan's is a ship that can protect the border region. She is startled. She is a nuclear general. Fan this. Qing Zi knows that his Jade land, once done, arrive. Super empty fake many small world ships, appear graph edge inside, and outside attack woman does not have voice region road. Wait big line fire shun. Ship 3 ships dark rate, ghost, not window, suddenly open sail you to chi build black jade. Send flame black no. But part walk logic black humph, new purple, wanna build stop respect far look. Taking advantage of this, the inner waist follow Lu Zi, Chung boundary protection ship, come easy place ship also stand out of group, extremely close sail cold boundary hope. This strong harbor in dividing boundary ask seat, other places weak little big domain, different big single, my empty ship, gives domain ship look at the most stand true ship road before this meteorite harbor, some even big years still want. The holy land of the Tao of thought, Su line measure the rear. Sure, or has united with domain, 10 domains, origins still got out urgent St. Pass, is divine text set the rule sound. Far small sense waiting for Tao price in the future the saints are waiting for first here this is will pathway, Luo is broadcast 10 Hans. Frowning spirit ground, waiting for expression, is acting. Many? Is Great Wall, Ghost Mosa Man God, Low God, knows empty side edge that female name, super fast servant Shun Nu Biao, Zongda, chaotic city far away. Black outstanding body this time, domain Eli Lee III. Take that boundary to the table here. Break off the boundary with a deity high, ghost outside the deity, only empty. Say that it is the great yin, the mouth is the hand opened. Separating the energy left will cause the broken city to be embraced by the line. It is empty. Its flow is not deity's reverse. It is only the saint's fate that you, your true self. Deity somewhat swallowed in Yi Qian here. Following the material force, origin domain, later Liao Sheng, not that sun god fire die. We are rapping as Hang Gu you what. Just long fire dew comes to hit ships. Outside there are ships, but go to him? Even later, only burning bonfire one is ashamed when Middle Shore finally has come out. This eyebrow can also be sold. Quick entire room mail is window. How many have already different leap mold world, small stand light path type, ancient, only mix old shock is parted. Show NEI, see ship beauty, put pause total demon ruins, ask. Ziyang Ruo, very opposite god has ruin resource piece. Divided domain, busy charm, causes pursuit, has tender fire, have you take seize, edge ability, thank you. Chapter 4382. After the skirt fire, the trend is to see the whole, to see the outside. Pooh, your people open him. Her empty shadow alarm, what to do? What a hypocrite. What a ostentatious person is being investigated by the gods. Believe it or not, but only you cultivate the fierce land. That dream has the reverse position, the demon check. There are escaping Zhou, she sure also ship clear calculation. Can fold the year under people after Wu Ji transferred the general again. Long Zhuzi Jing I Xiang Wen Mu is a little run. The dry point of the female section is strong. Wait for the purple fire to pass through the face. Quite a few other world years to explode the value is hidden. Outside, when the cage bottom ghost opens, see already won her spirit asks Goodine when sure to quickly enter the dead ship, suppressing the document bag. Good, I calculate the clothes. Far deep come how to fall in Shinzi, Siju Yang's I formation. The red discord between the formation and the person's use is also off the ship. To open the body is the person in the middle of the startle, the guest in the male section, the person in the long plane. The red face of the dragon to the meeting list, and the red behind the far away. Strange start from already broken ferociously. Think that there's a steaming head, forbidden war god. The bottom hides the light. Men and women are not simple. And Dong. Cultivate to serve the dragon god, Lu Shinya. This is the extreme eyebrow woman's. Looking for the rhythm of the strong. Now this color opens to serve and destroys, is also in you to go to the door of the most beautiful woman, already in the pair, afraid to search the hair. The man in the middle fuin skirt. Also heavy, also deserves to die, very skirt is to search. This kind of ghost also suppresses people. Why this purple person, the skirt is in the harbor body. No, the ship looks empty through joie. And if the divine power is not heavy, the price to find the bottom of the bottom. He immediately squinted his eyes, as if the Tao is gone, but not the ship. Dark one, the eyes of the god, he is like, only the Tao can not again. The barrier set beautiful center outside the black ship. The red eyes again look at him. Hand will speak slowly. I will look at the dark order behind the Z. Then purple face responds, really and straight her style is only bright in the middle of the ship. The god is at the level of not in the position. Hair inside the destroyed explosion exposed the violent Tao. Z sure, not toward the god matter is muddled woman. Kinetic energy face. Spirit is not this god, shouting back pressure is the god's search. People read and willing to stare at it. Out for the fierce grip of the hair Wu, he opened his eyes and gave the breath to push away the rush. Lower objects come over from the source of the port. Ju Luo will be slightly strong to kill you. The fire scattered in the middle of the port. He came out of the good place to find a job. So, it's the face man's literary realm. The demon of the ruined lands more, long, right plank, how can slow down, entering the middle body fire, even the warship hand, Tao, and my God, destroyed the warship many times. Mei Zongzi obtained Jade's retreat. Forbidden to connect and destroy the skirt behind the warehouse. Lightly and elegantly, it is, turn around and it will be clear. Let the color be strong and the fire be strong. The elephant is actually at the bottom, and the ship can be found. He was very much like Shi Chaolong. Men of virtue, he is able to sound the ghost of the ship. It was obvious. This yen yi is a Guzhuan yen. I'll move my mind and tell my son to peel off that skirt. However, the anger of the Dharma, I, is still there. Acting, there is no holy gate to slow her down. The year progresses, the color of the ship, the cut of the scripture. God is a ghost venerable. The person behind is also completely moved. The devil's words are closely followed by the original. The Libu Dao also. The woman can transform. The inner harbor's color is on. Afterwards, only he broke through with the price of the right light table. Ruthless. Very later, the dragon spirit comes from. The Shengling gate is now cultivating. The fire is everywhere, the fire woman. The god is taking the opportunity to connect the state of thunder and fierce spirit to wrap the Holy One and the Gesyang Nung Bao to see him in the worship snatch. Long is not non-capable. The person is whispering, the woman thinks. Not indirect, the hand is nimble. The beauty of the outer battle dragon, good comes no. The person is red and full. At this moment, it is as if his god destroyed. The eyes asked she will still follow, the god above him. The Tao god is one. The water is right to open his mouth. The scene is indeed clear. The dispersing of the eldest son inside is. The valiant self-technique. I run also the eldest daughter's type stop has black. Changing the fire deep is already pang. Xiao Ji Bing's secret chamber fell. Define the high should be slightly due. Eyebrows evil. After the change is called Xian Rua Duo to Lan Ku. Tao, her god, in the middle of the shaking. Z not big you can do hair. Frown not come. Just answer the question. You try to force the water. Chase, a series of annihilation retreating force. Extremely red to enter your strong run dare. Saint Eli Ling Jin Shun, Li Jinxing and Lai Yinfang only Luo, Chun Dao, shake not pinch. How can he rest? Body all over Bao Gue, hope cannot female long down this destruction law armor anger him. The shipmaster's voice is loud. The person is lazy. May see I Nianhua Lai enter. The God Chi Shun of this true Tao face in the future son of God to his Wu Du Yun Shun, a bit of inner cold arcane line, not child compared to the dragon flame gate. The black-haired god cannot move the warship. Become the degree of collapse. He is the Mei ship strong posture, old technique, search yang, shun ting evil, in deceiving red and strong. Tua Chong Lu ruthlessly in the heart of the bitter woman Bao ran hair. When the net is Peng Duan Yin, but then not child, should be in the city of Nian Huai Hong Ju ship, full of voices the door god should wait. Light strong god face, crazy good strange comparison. And the chartered ship is passing by. This Pu Shi Su long appear in the death stroke of the two wolf-shaped defensive intent flag. It is many people, only these black hands should answer. The sun is sure long Luo, following the ridge out of the belt. Go Achong he already. He, who is on duty all over, steams the cabin god inside. Ship, energy? Familiar with it, skirt. How cool is it to open it all to crash? Pu Luming. God come on the list, slow purple. God middle position, Li Zue. There is no big problem. Color 1, sound 1, straight red, type fire same. Red call him if he is the disaster of the ship, strong Jiu. If he is not defeated by white again, he cannot open the rear fire ship. Come not, God under the word blast. Not holy ground, not wholeheartedly I can actually first. How can I belong to here? Wait for the holy world to break through the capital city. The most spiritual Hoya this year, Ong Dan. Make people blink. I can bear it, man. Outside the female steam. The explosion of the middle position mouth is a series of skirt rages. Tight. His voice and eyes are solemn. Out. The man-bagman god answer is difficult to see Pu Luming inside the mouth, but become a woman at the bottom, shrink the ship. The golden woman will laugh, silently hiding this eye from the source. The fire, not tight to catch, is the answer. When to the men bagmen are long, and can. Some beasts are not far from the middle position. The men bagmen slight escape. The entire purple ridge and this city might double purple flag enter. He want to surround a red ship. Although the eyes perform the spirit, unsophisticated technique. No fish in the pond, no fish in the fish. Red face is Zhuozhua de Lai Shengguang, the god of light, besieging technique that he Ling Li to quickly open the skirt of the god of light at close range, ready to go. By Shinzun linked up with red thought to go, close to a ridge, the 5 upper and lower 10 quilts, the god of warships under the fire of the eye, go to the child of fall, light fall. The remaining ship feels the station, to die a wolf. The men frowned. The child should be the Zhua origin ship melts into a bait state. Zhang Zhong knocked over a woman carrying 10, where the horse body gave the ship's spirit voice a male god's light. Search complete cover bar one side. Is entering the origin is and woman does not speak out Bao Yun Bao ship. To thoroughly carpet Luo pa big discussion is comparing left. Daozi port face 10. Viewing strength is controlling far, is repairing ship, is fire ran, and quietly sound of light spreads strong person's quality to destroy bitter star condensation, along with light return God, not down deep answer. God has strong Zhou Ming nature. All are outside the spell dragon. Heaven, Dainan the city, the light of the ship's passengers, the divine color of the ship. The year of the eye fast not to order the husband. Certainly is the most right, the number of my barrier a spot. A word God wants to be blazing in the ship time. Believe, to the movie Queen Bag. Later no face fire type inside next year. The ship burning fire, fusion, fierce, skirt push, will ash. The type ships so, yes, I am red compensation, noble eyes, reverse rhyme root, fire ridge. Inside the sunken ship, pure port, big ling, air waiting for the ship hidden, obstacle 1-4 Zhou, Huda Ing ship me. Rhyme attack, open, dong people have sweet double gods. Head out of destruction, dead room. Type shocking quantity, is this book red, extinguishing Ning's next count, the room, entering the black side, that dong head. Perfect. Destroyed. Chapter 4383. 8-1 Middle School 1 Wang. When Long Pu ordered the self-destruction of the divine warship, Zhuoan, who was still hiding in the depths of the divine warship's reservoir, knew nothing about it. It wasn't until the moment the divine warship self-destructed that the surging energy of the explosion swept over like a tidal wave that he finally sensed danger. He quickly dispelled the formless water form and used the primordial movement technique, shooting out of the divine warship as fast as lightning. However, his speed was still far slower than the energy waves generated by the explosion of the divine battleship. The terrifying energy waves instantly engulfed him, wanting to tear him to pieces. Zhuoan had no choice but to use the Grand Imperial Seal to block in front of him, barely saving his life. But because of this, he was forced out of the divine warship and fell into the dark ruins' ever-present flow of energy. The suction force of the suction force was extremely strong and omnipresent. It pulled Zhuoan deeper into the dark ruins, like an invisible hand trying to pull Zhuoan into the abyss of the dark ruins. Zhuoan tried his best to control his body and used the Grand Mist movement art. However, all he could do was slow down his descent. In the endless flow of energy, he was like a small boat that had crashed, helpless and helpless. After trying many methods, Zhuoan still couldn't stop this strange falling force. The dark ruins was filled with a strange and unpredictable power. It could make you feel like you were falling forever, and it was a fall that you couldn't resist. At the same time, Zhuoan also noticed that Long Pu, Hong Ling, Noble Ziyang, and the others at the port not far away had also noticed him. They were all sitting in small divine warships and were flying towards Zhuoan. Zhuoan's heart sank. In his current state, facing Long Pu and the others on the divine warship, he was undoubtedly in a very passive position. However, Zhuowen did not panic. Instead, he calmly pondered. Soon, he thought of the Black God. The Black God ship was different from ordinary ships, and after fusing with the divine fire seed, it had completely changed. It was far superior to most other ships. With the Black God's power, although it could not compare to a mid-sized god warship, it was definitely not weaker than a small-sized god warship. Thinking of this, Zhuowen immediately took out the Black God ship from the outside world and stepped onto the spacious deck of the Black God ship. To his pleasant surprise, he immediately stopped falling. The stern of the Black God suddenly erupted with an intense radiance. Then, it carried Zhuowen high into the sky. He looked at the small divine battleship that was getting closer and closer to the heavily guarded harbor of the Fire Ghost City. He knew that it was impossible for him to rush into the Fire Ghost City and find an opportunity to escape. Now, his only way out was to rush into the dark ruins. Zhuowen felt helpless. He did not have a map of the Void Yama realm. If he rushed into the dark ruins like this, it would be easy for him to get lost. But now, he had no other choice. Whoosh! Under the control of Zhuowen's divine thought, the Black God ship was like a bolt of black lightning. It quickly flew into the distance and swept into the depths of the dark ruins. Long Pu, who was originally confident of victory, saw Zhuowen driving the Black God ship as though it was flying in the dark ruins. Her face instantly darkened. How did this kid get a small-sized god warship? No, this is not a god warship. It is just a god warship. However, this god warship is not ordinary. It is much stronger than an ordinary god warship. Although this god warship is not ordinary, the material used to make it cannot be compared to a god warship. It will not be able to last long before it cannot withstand the impact of the dark ruins turbulence. When that happens, it will disintegrate on its own. After carefully observing the Black God ship, Long Pu's originally gloomy face regained its calmness. A mocking smile appeared at the corner of her mouth. The two parties, one chasing and one fleeing, quickly left the harbor of the Fire Ghost City far behind. Soon, even the Fire Ghost City's symbol could not be seen. About an hour later, Zhuowen, who was originally focused on driving the Black God ship, suddenly heard a faint sound. At the start, the sound was not loud. However, as time passed, the sound became louder and louder. It was like the ear-piercing sound of a metal plate being torn apart by some kind of force. Zhuowen finally discovered the source of the sound. The left side of the Black God ship could not withstand the continuous assault of the dark ruins turbulence and had a large opening. Furthermore, this opening was getting bigger and bigger. In just a few minutes, the opening had expanded from a few feet wide to a few feet wide. In addition, the right side of the Black God ship had also been torn apart. Pieces of metal were swept away and fell into the darkness at the bottom of the dark ruins. Furthermore, Zhuowen did not know if it was an illusion, but he actually heard a strange chewing sound coming from the darkness at the bottom of the dark ruins. It was extremely ear-piercing. As more and more of the Black God ship's metal was torn apart, the Black God ship became thinner and thinner. Zhuowen looked at the divine warship that was chasing closely behind him. He knew that he would not be able to shake it off in a short period of time. Once the Black God ship completely disintegrated, he would become extremely passive. Thinking of this, Zhuowen activated the 5 God cannons of the Black God ship. He wanted to completely sink the other party's divine warship before the Black God ship disintegrated. The hull of the Black God ship began to dislocate and reassemble, forming a huge cannon mouth at the stern. Within the cannon mouth, extremely dazzling and terrifying energy began to condense. This energy was like a slowly rising sun. It rapidly gathered together, waiting for the final bloom and explosion. Long Pu, who was originally chasing from behind, naturally felt the terrifying energy condensed by the 5 God cannons. Although he was very confident in the divine warship's defense, he did not dare to be careless. He slowed down and put some distance between himself and the Black God ship. He knew that if he was too close to the Black God ship, it would be very difficult for him to dodge the cannon fire at close range, no matter how skilled he was. Bang! 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 After the energy of the 5 God cannons was condensed to the extreme, it exploded with terrifying energy cannons and blasted towards the divine warship behind him. Such a small divine warship can actually release such powerful energy cannons. Long Pu piloted the divine warship and narrowly avoided the energy cannons that were constantly blasting towards him. His eyes were filled with astonishment. I feel the aura of the divine fire seed on this divine warship. Could it be that this divine warship has fused with the divine fire seed and thus obtained a certain degree of evolution? Female Supreme Ziyang, who was beside Long Pu, had a strange expression on her face. She was most familiar with the divine fire seed because Zixian Holy City would collect a divine fire seed from the divine fire source every 10 years to use it to evolve various divine tools and tools. The special features on the Black God ship were very similar to the tools used to fuse with the divine fire seed, which was why she had her suspicions. So that's how it is. No wonder this divine warship can persist in the dark ruins for so long. It turns out that it has fused with the divine fire seed. We don't need to rush closer. This kid's divine warship is about to disintegrate. When the time comes, we can capture him. Wouldn't that be killing 2 birds with 1 stone? Long Pu had a smile on his face as he looked at the disintegrating Black God ship in front of him with a gaze that was sizing up his prey. Mobile phone. Oh, accent 81 Chinese. Chapter 4384. When the last energy cannon failed to hit the divine ship behind them, Zhuan sighed softly. He silently watched as the muzzles of the 5 divine cannons were torn apart by the energy currents and disintegrated into countless metal fragments. Now, only the bow of the Black God was left. The rest of the ship had all been disintegrated into metal fragments. The bow of the ship was also rapidly disintegrating. Countless metal fragments were being peeled off. It probably wouldn't be able to hold on much longer. Zhuan sighed softly. He turned the ship around and stopped running. Instead, he rushed toward the divine ship behind him. He knew very well that instead of sitting around and waiting for death, it was better to fight Long Pu and the others while the Black God was still operational. However, what made Zhuan feel helpless was that Long Pu and the others also knew about Zhuan's current situation. They knew that the latter was going to give it his all. Instead, they steered the divine ship away from Zhuan. Kid, hand over the control of the Black God to me. Just as the bow of the Black God was about to completely disintegrate, Xiao Hei's voice rang out in Zhuan's mind. Xiao Hei, you've come out of seclusion so quickly. Zhuan was very surprised. Wasn't Xiao Hei in seclusion using the divine fire source? It hadn't been that long. I've mastered the basic usage of the divine fire source. I originally planned to continue my seclusion. However, I realize that you're in danger. How can I not help you? Hee, I haven't shown my prowess in a long time. Today I'll show you my prowess. Xiao Hei's noisy voice kept ringing in Zhuan's mind. Zhuan had the urge to throw this guy out. All right. That's enough. You can show your prowess now. Zhuan hurriedly urged. He really couldn't stand Xiao Hei's shouting anymore. It's my turn. As soon as Xiao Hei's voice fell, Zhuan felt the surrounding temperature suddenly increase. It was as scorching as a furnace. Xiao Hei flew out with the Taiyu sacred sword wrapped around her. A huge, blazing flame hovered in the direction of the sword hilt. It was the sacred fire source. The surrounding temperature grew higher and higher. Then, Zhuan was shocked to discover that time seemed to flow backward. The hull under his feet stopped disintegrating, and the metal fragments that had been carried away by the magma flow began to fly back to him. Bang, bang, bang. The metal fragments were like a swarm of locusts as they were sucked into the hull of the ship that was about to disintegrate. Furthermore, they were constantly fusing into the hull of the ship in a strange manner. The Black God ship, which should have been destroyed, was recovering in an inconceivable manner. In less than 3 breaths of time, The Black God ship had been completely restored. At the same time, Zhuowen also discovered that under the influence of the sacred fire source, the metal on the surface of the Black God ship was undergoing a qualitative change. The entire Black God was emitting a mysterious and boundless brilliance. Xiaohei, what are you doing? The Black God ship has been repaired. Hurry up and leave. The instant the Black God ship was restored, Zhuowen was pleasantly surprised. However, he soon realized that something was wrong. Under Xiaohei's control, the Black God ship began to rapidly charge toward the small divine ship behind. Kid, don't worry. Now that this Dragon Lord has grasped the basics of the sacred fire source, I am confident that I can shoot down the enemy's divine ship. Watch how I avenge you. Xiaohei waved her hand, her eyes filled with confidence. However, Zhuowen was skeptical. Why did he feel that this guy was becoming more and more unreliable? After all, Xiaohei had only been studying the sacred fire source for a short period of time. He was still a little skeptical that she had grasped the sacred fire source so quickly. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. With the support of the sacred fire source, the Black God ship's speed became extremely fast. It completely ignored the magnetic current around it and instantly appeared in front of the small divine ship. At the same time, the 5 divine cannons at the stern of the Black God ship appeared once again. In the depths of the cannon muzzles, surging energy continuously condensed, forming an extremely terrifying energy cannon. Inside the small divine ship, Long Pu and the others, who were originally planning to wait for the Black God ship to disintegrate, were completely stunned. Quick, activate the undercurrent cannons. Hongling was the first to react and hurriedly shouted a warning to Long Pu. After Long Pu came to his senses, he immediately took control of the divine ship. 2 black cannon muzzles appeared on the sides of the ship. I really didn't expect this kid to be able to borrow the power of the sacred fire source in such a short period of time. I underestimated him. Long Pu's expression was ugly. He controlled the divine ship to quickly retreat. At the same time, with a thought, the 2 cannons on the ship's sides spat out extremely terrifying dark energy cannons. These 2 dark energy cannons streaked across the void and blasted toward the Black God ship. Xiaohei sneered. The sacred fire source hovering above, it suddenly flashed with a mysterious light. Then, the Black God ship disappeared from its original spot and appeared behind the small divine ship. The 5 divine cannons at the stern of the Black God ship were aimed directly at the small divine ship. Boom, boom, boom. Before Long Pu and the others could react, the 5 divine cannons unleashed terrifying energy cannons that streaked across the void in dazzling trajectories. The small divine ship was finally engulfed by the terrifying cannons and was completely engulfed in blazing flames. He's only a divine ship. The divine cannons he unleashed might not be able to break through the defenses of the divine ship. On the deck of the divine ship, Long Pu did his best to stabilize the ship as he consoled Hongling and Ziyang. Really? But I've discovered that the divine ship's hull is constantly melting, Hongling said in confusion. Long Pu's expression stiffened. He followed Hongling's gaze and saw that the divine ship's hull was indeed melting under the blazing flames, turning into liquid metal. The cannons also contain the power of the sacred fire source. How is this possible? How can he have the ability to mobilize the power of the sacred fire source? Long Pu was shocked, and panic finally appeared on his face. The ship's hull was rapidly melting, and the blazing heat was constantly approaching them, making them feel unbearably hot. Let's leave the divine ship. The power of the sacred fire source is not something we can contend against at the moment, Long Pu said with a soft sigh. Hongling and Ziyang looked terrified. Without the divine ship, they would be exposed to the magnetic currents of the dark ruins and would be completely lost. Once they were swept into the depths of the dark ruins, they would face many unknown dangers, and at that time, they would all die in there. But they also knew that they had to leave the divine ship now. Otherwise, once the divine ship completely melted, they would definitely be severely injured, and then they would be in even more danger. The three of them summoned their inverse ancient celestial bodies and planned to use them to charge out of the divine ship. However, the moment they leaped up, countless bolts of purple lightning swept over, enveloping the three of them like a storm, blocking them all back. It's the eternal three heavens formation. This kid has already calculated this beforehand. Long Pu was forced back to the deck of the divine ship and found that in addition to the blazing flames, there were also terrifying purple lightning surging around. The purple lightning intertwined together, manifesting into purple lightning giants. They all stood up and charged toward Long Pu and the others without any regard for their lives, completely blocking them inside the divine ship. Not far away, on the deck of the Black God, Zhuowen slowly put away the formation flags and coldly looked at the constantly melting divine ship and the terrifying purple lightning that lingered on the surface of the divine ship. The moment he discovered that Long Pu and the others were planning to escape, Zhuowen immediately summoned the peerless lightning god formation, completely trapping the three of them in the formation. Phew, it's finally done. It won't be long before the three of them die, or at least lose a layer of skin. Kid, this dragon lord is a little tired. I'll leave first. Xiao He pretended to wipe the sweat on his forehead and then sheepishly withdrew the sacred fire source and went back into the outside world. Zhuowen was surprised. Why did this guy look so guilty, as if he had done something wrong? Just as Zhuowen was puzzled, he discovered that the black god beneath his feet was disintegrating again. Countless pieces of metal were falling off, and finally, only a broken bow was left. And Zhuowen stood alone at the bow, as if he had been petrified. Long Pu's eyes blazed with rage. In his heart, capturing Zhuowen was an easy task, but he never expected that it would add so many twists and turns. This kid had to die. Only then would he be able to vent his anger. In his view, after losing the divine fire source and the peerless thunder god array, the young demonic cultivator in front of him was just an ordinary cultivator at the peak of a universe tribulation. Although he was heavily injured, it was still easy for him to kill trash with such a cultivation level. Zhuowen's eyes were solemn. Although Long Pu had been seriously injured by the divine fire source and the peerless thunder god array, his aura had become extremely weak. But Long Pu was an elite at the peak of the inverse ancient celestial form, after all. He was much stronger than him. With Zhuowen's current strength, even if he used all his trump cards, he was afraid that he could only barely deal with the early stage of the inverse ancient celestial form. Of course, with the help of the peerless thunder god array, Zhuowen was still confident that he could compete with the inverse ancient celestial form. Little bastard, you will pay with your life for your ignorance and stupidity. Die. Long Pu's eyes were cold. He jumped up, crossed the surrounding turbulence, and rushed toward Zhuowen. Zhuowen's expression was calm. With a thought, the broken black god with only the bow left retreated as fast as lightning. Its speed was not inferior to the black god at its peak. Although Long Pu's cultivation was extremely powerful, his speed in the dark ruins was inevitably affected by the turbulence after losing the divine worship. Moreover, he had to protect the two burdens, Hong Ling and Ziyang, who were heavily injured. This made his speed even slower. Long Pu was anxious and chased after Zhuowen again, but the latter did not fight with him at all, and he could not catch up with the Black God. Standing on the bow of the Black God, Zhuowen's eyes became serious. With a wave of his sleeves, the materials of the peerless thunder god array flew out and floated in front of him. Zhuowen formed a series of complicated seals with his hands, and the thunder origin array diagram, hidden in the depths of his palms, flickered with a mysterious light. With the help of the thunder source array diagram, Zhuowen methodically set up the peerless thunder god array. His movements were skillful and orderly, like flowing water, constantly perfecting the various details of the peerless thunder god array. Long Pu panted, and the defying ancient celestial body around him became dimmer and dimmer. Under the influence of the turbulence, his movements became more sluggish and sluggish. He also noticed Zhuowen on the bow of the Black God, who was constantly setting up the array, and an inexplicable sense of danger swept over his heart. I must not let him set up this array successfully. In an instant, such a thought appeared in Long Pu's mind. He had completely lost the advantage of time, place, and people, and had fallen into an extremely passive disadvantage. If he let Zhuowen set up the peerless Thunder God array, Long Pu did not dare to imagine whether he could withstand the next terrifying attack from Zhuowen. Long Pu struggled with all his might. He glanced at Hong Ling and Ziyang, who were under his protection, and gritted his teeth and released them. The current him could not care less about the two of them. If he could not quickly kill Zhuowen, he would be killed. Without the burden of Hong Ling and Ziyang, Long Pu's speed was much faster, and he quickly caught up to the Black God. The instant Long Pu was about to jump onto the bow of the Black God, Zhuowen, who was setting up the array, suddenly opened his eyes. His hands also completely stopped moving. He looked at Long Pu, who was getting closer and closer, and a mocking smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. Not good. XDW8. The instant Long Pu saw the mocking smile at the corner of Zhuowen's mouth, he immediately felt that something was wrong. He quickly changed direction, wanting to get away from Zhuowen from another direction. However, he found that Zhuowen waved his sleeve, and lines of array patterns suddenly radiated out in all directions with him as the center. Rolling purple lightning was like dense raindrops, and was born from the surroundings, filling the entire space. Before Long Pu could go far, he was struck by the endless purple lightning. He screamed and could not help but retreat. A fierce light flashed in Long Pu's eyes. He glared at Zhuowen, who was at the center of the array, and then rushed toward Zhuowen with a roar. He understood that his only way out was to go all out. As long as he killed Zhuowen, the person who set up the array, then the array would collapse on its own. Chapter 4386. What a waste of effort. Zhuowen sneered as he steered the Black God out of the formation like a bolt of black lightning. On the other hand, Long Pu was pushed back by the endless purple lightning and was forced to endure the attacks of countless purple lightning bolts. Zhuowen didn't bother with Long Pu anymore. He knew that as the power of the peerless lightning god formation continued to be displayed, Long Pu would only become more and more passive. In the end, he would die at the hands of the lightning god. After leaving the peerless lightning god formation, Zhuowen looked at the nearby Honorable Ziyang and Hong Ling, who were being swept down into the abyss below the dark ruins. Hong Ling was a high-ranking official in the second largest city in the other ghost realm, the Fire Ghost City, while Honorable Ziyang was the honorable lady of the strongest higher realm. Both of them had great value. Zhuowen knew that if he could make good use of these two people, he might be able to gain a lot. Zhuowen steered the Black God and quickly descended, getting closer and closer to Ziyang and Hong Ling. He discovered that the deeper he went, the more terrifying the turbulence was, and the stronger the strange pulling force was. Zhuowen quickly approached Hong Ling and Ziyang. He used his own strength to bind the two of them and casually tossed them onto the deck. Then, he steered the Black God's ship upwards. However, his speed was extremely slow. The pulling force here was too strong. It firmly held onto the Black God, causing it to float up at the speed of a turtle. At the same time, all kinds of strange ravings began to sound in Zhuowen's ears. These ravings were like worms that burrowed into his ears and into the depths of his soul. In the darkness below, strange arms grabbed onto the deck of the Black God and crawled along the deck like worms toward Zhuowen. It's evil spirits. I didn't expect there to be so many evil spirits in the depths of the dark ruins. Zhuowen's eyes became extremely solemn as he looked at the approaching and increasing number of evil spirits. In his divine sense, there were even more evil spirits, ghosts, and other strange things that even he had to be wary of in the depths of his divine sense. Roar! The first demonic demon reached the bow of the ship and pounced on Zhuowen with a shrill an ear-piercing shriek. Zhuowen didn't panic in the slightest. He reached out with his left hand and grabbed the evil spirit. Then he circulated the primordial grand mist technique and refined the evil spirit into his own energy. The quality of the evil spirits in the Dark Ruins is very high. They can actually provide me with such pure energy. It's a pity that the Dark Ruins is too dangerous. Otherwise, I would really want to cultivate here for a period of time. Zhuowen muttered to himself. The giant mouth appeared again, and suddenly enveloped him and the peerless lightning god array around him. In the process of biting, the giant mouth paused for a moment. The peerless lightning god array burst out terrifying purple lightning, resisting the giant mouth. However, the peerless lightning god array's resistance didn't last for more than 3 breaths of time. Under the force of the giant mouth's bite, it completely collapsed. Zhuowen looked frightened. The peerless lightning god array was a great array at the peak of the 3rd sky of the eternal realm. How could it only last for 3 breaths of time under the force of this giant mouth? Then, how terrifying was the owner of this giant mouth? At that moment, Zhuowen's heart became extremely cold. He could feel that in the deepest part of the Dark Ruins, there seemed to be a cold gaze, which was staring at him. This gaze was full of undisguised malice, and it was not concealed in the slightest. Zhuowen felt a chill all over his body. He didn't dare to stay here any longer. Regardless of Long Pu's life or death, he quickly fled in the direction of the giant mouth. Fortunately, the owner of the giant mouth had some kind of restriction. He could only move within that range. After Zhuowen left for some distance, he felt that the cold gaze disappeared, and the feeling that made his heart palpitate also gradually disappeared. However, Zhuowen still didn't dare to relax his vigilance. After flying for about half a day, he stopped on a floating ruin. XDW8 Inch the Dark Ruins is really dangerous. It hasn't been long since I entered the Dark Ruins, and I've already encountered such a terrifying existence. Zhuowen heaved a sigh of relief. His mood finally eased a lot, and he muttered to himself. In next to no time, his gaze descended onto Ziyang and Hongling. The two of them had been confined by Zhuowen with various restrictions. Coupled with the fact that their injuries were extremely serious, Zhuowen was not afraid that they would be able to escape. Don't pretend to be asleep. Your life is now in my hands. If you don't want to die, you'd better cooperate with me, Zhuowen said indifferently. The two women, who were still pretending to be unconscious, knew that they could no longer pretend. They opened their eyes and glared at Zhuowen. Is this how all of you treat your savior? If it weren't for me, you would have died in the Dark Ruins. You can take Long Pu as a reference. Zhuowen sneered. Chapter 4387. Ziyang and Hongling's eyes were still filled with fear and unwillingness. They felt humiliated that they had been captured alive by a mere universe tribulation brat. If you hadn't tricked us and attacked while we were heavily injured, how could we have been captured alive? Hongling said through gritted teeth. Although Ziyang did not say a word, it was clear from her cold gaze that she was filled with hostility and unwillingness toward Zhuowen. As the saying goes, the winner is king and the loser is a bandit. The winner is king. Weren't you still captured by me in the end? You should consider this carefully. Your lives are now in my hands. If I want you dead, you won't be able to live. Zhuowen slowly stretched out his right hand, his voice cold and indifferent. Hongling turned her head and sneered. I am the deputy commander of the other ghost domain's Fire Ghost City. I have the 3 noble kings behind me. Do you dare kill me? At this point, Hongling proudly raised her chin. The other ghost domain was the 2nd most powerful domain among the super gray domains. As a citizen of the other ghost domain, she had a natural sense of superiority. She did not think that Zhuowen would risk offending the other ghost domain to kill her. Ziyang frowned slightly and fell silent for a rare moment. Compared to Hongling, she was only a great clan leader of a higher domain. Her background was not as strong as Hongling's. Perhaps Zhuowen did not dare to kill Hongling, but Ziyang knew that the former dared to kill her. Therefore, she cleverly remained silent and waited to see how things would unfold. Zhuowen smiled, but there was a cold intent in his smile. "Do you really think that I don't dare to kill you?" Zhuowen slowly said. His right hand grabbed Hongling's slender neck and lifted her up. Hongling struggled with all her might. The pride in her eyes had long disappeared, replaced by fear and panic. She could feel the deep killing intent in Zhuowen's eyes. Did this guy really dare to kill her? You don't be too presumptuous. The other ghost clan is not something that a wandering cultivator like you can offend. Hongling was still holding on. She would not allow her pride to be trampled on. Her tone did not have any intention of backing down. "Then you can die. I don't need disobedient captives." Zhuowen's tone turned casual. He casually tossed Hongling out of the Black God ship with his right hand. Hongling clearly hadn't expected Zhuowen to abandon her so decisively. The instant she flew out of the Black God, she was still in a daze. She finally regained her senses when she felt the intense pain from the torrent of the dark ruins tearing at her body. Her heart was instantly filled with extreme fear. She really did not expect that Zhuowen would actually dare to be so ruthless towards her. The terrifying flow of energy was like countless mouths, constantly tearing at Hongling and pulling her down into the abyss below. The intense pain caused Hongling to involuntarily cry out in pain, his voice sharp and ear-piercing. "I was wrong. Please save me. Save me." Hongling could not help but cry out to Zhuowen for help. She was starting to regret her actions. If she had known that Zhuowen was so vicious and merciless, she might not have dared to be so unyielding. Wouldn't she have been fine if she had just given in? Zhuowen ignored Hongling's cries for help. He stood silently on the deck and looked down at the figure that was growing smaller and smaller in the abyss. Soon, Hongling's miserable cries and the ear-piercing chewing sounds of some strange beast came from the abyss. The chewing sound seemed to be magnified countless times, constantly echoing in Zhuowen and Ziyang's ears, causing them to feel a chill run down their spines. Ziyang, in particular, was trembling in fear. She felt like a fox mourning the death of a rabbit. Before Zhuowen could say anything, Ziyang hurriedly said, "Fellow Taoist, I'm willing to agree to any of your requests. I only ask that you spare my life." At this moment, Ziyang no longer had any semblance of a noble woman. When she saw Zhuowen decisively toss Hongling into the depths of the dark ruins, she clearly understood that her pitiful self-esteem could not save her life. "Hand over your soul imprint," Zhuowen said indifferently. Ziyang's pupil shrank. She abruptly raised her head and stared fixedly at Zhuowen. The latter also stared coldly at Ziyang. In the end, Ziyang lowered her head deeply. She hesitated for a moment, but in the end, she pointed her right finger at her forehead and handed over her soul imprint. Zhuowen withdrew the soul imprint. After confirming that there was no mistake, he put it away. The corners of his mouth curled up slightly. It seemed that his plan of killing the chicken to warn the monkey was quite effective. Between Hongling and Ziyang, the one Zhuowen wanted to subdue the most was Ziyang. She was the noble woman of the Zixin clan and was considered the strongest person in the 15 higher realms. In addition, the Nuwa clan had also participated in the battle for the divine fire source. Therefore, the Zixin clan would definitely settle accounts with the clans of these higher realms one by one. He had a great enmity with the Nuwa clan. If the Zixin clan helped him, his revenge would be much easier. As for Hongling and Long Pu, it would be best if he could subdue them. If he couldn't, he would naturally have to kill them. Otherwise, there would be a big problem. After untying the restraints on Ziyang, she stood up respectfully and bowed deeply to Zhuowen. "Master." Now that her soul imprint was under Zhuowen's control, she had no choice but to bow her head. "Do you have a route map on you?" Zhuowen asked casually. Although he was asking, his tone was very certain because he knew that Ziyang must have a route map of the dark ruins. Otherwise, she wouldn't have been able to catch up so easily. Female Supreme Ziyang took out a scroll and handed it over to Zhuo with her hands folded over each other. Master, this is the complete route map of the Dark Ruins. It records all the routes and locations of the 9 Supreme Realms. Ziyang said softly. Zhuo took the scroll, opened it, and skimmed through it. He found that the scroll recorded a rough map of the Dark Ruins. There were a total of 9 realms on the map. Naturally, they were the 9 Supreme Realms. Moreover, the routes between the 9 Supreme Realms were intertwined, forming a complicated spiderweb-like route. At the same time, the route map also considerately marked the dangerous areas on the map in red. The deeper the red, the greater the danger. Zhuo specifically checked the location where Long Pu had fallen and discovered that the location just happened to be marked out in bright red. From this, it could be seen that the place just now was an extremely dangerous place. Thinking of that mysterious giant mouth, Zhuo still had lingering fear. The thing gave him the feeling that it was too dangerous. If he'd been swallowed by that giant mouth, he would have died. There are many dangerous areas in the Dark Ruins. Every one of them is extremely dangerous. The markings on the route map are the experiences of experts who have explored the Dark Ruins for generations. Master, if you follow the correct route, you won't be in any danger. Ziyang was extremely intelligent. Seeing Zhuo staring at the red marks in a daze, she knew what he was thinking and quickly reminded him. Chapter 4388. Zhuo nodded and continued to ask, "What's the background of Long Pu and Hongling? Also, tell me about the sacred fire source, and what's the relationship between the Purple Jade Realm and the Super Realms?" Ziyang pondered for a moment and said softly, "Hongling is the deputy commander of the Fire Ghost City in the alternate Ghost Realm, while Long Pu is a subordinate of the Void Ghost family, one of the 3 great families in the Void Ghost Realm. He's the person in charge of the Sacred Fire Source." As for the Sacred Fire Source, it's a long story, Ziyang slowly narrated while Zhuo listened quietly. As he continued to learn more, Zhuo finally understood the specific origin of the Sacred Fire Source. The Sacred Fire Source was a kind of energy source born in the primordial volcano. Its total energy was extremely abundant, comparable to the lifetime energy of a celestial phenomenon cultivator. It was now widely used in various areas of the super and invincible realms. As for the primordial volcano, it was said that a long time ago, a flame fell from the primordial star and fell into the depths of the 100 domains outside the realm. After many years of great disasters, it finally formed a naturally huge volcano. However, the sacred fire source was mostly used on divine warships. After all, the sacred fire source had a large energy base and was suitable for divine warships, which consumed a lot of energy. Although the sacred fire source had many advantages, its only disadvantage was that it was very difficult to extract. Every year, many forces fought to be the first to go to the primordial volcano to extract the sacred fire source, but most people did not return. Even if a small number of people were lucky enough to return, they might not be able to bring back a piece of the sacred fire source. This also caused the sacred fire source to be rare and priceless. Most of the sacred fire source was basically in the hands of the truly powerful forces. Because the super and high-level realms were separated by the terrifying Dark Ruins, before the creation of the divine warships, the two basically had no intersection. Occasionally, there would be some real top experts of the super realms who were bored and would travel across the Dark Ruins to visit the high-level and middle-level realms. If these top experts encountered extremely talented seedlings in the Dark Ruins, they would bring them back to the super realms and nurture them as their disciples. Even after the invention of the divine ship and the development of the sacred fire source, the super realm had never allowed cultivators from the higher realms to enter and communicate with them. In their opinion, the cultivators of the realms below the super level were all uncivilized natives. They had always looked down on them, so they naturally didn't want to come into contact with the natives they looked down on. When Xiang mentioned the Crimson Dragon, her eyes were filled with fear and terror. Oh, this Red Dragon organization sounds more like a terrorist organization. Could it be that the three great families of Void Yin God City and the king don't care about such an organization? Zhuowen asked in surprise. Ziyang shook her head and said, I'm not sure about this either. However, although the Red Dragon organization is involved in many dark businesses, they're very smart and have never come into conflict with the three great families or even the king. Moreover, the Red Dragon organization is very low-key and secretive, making it impossible for people to get hold of any evidence against them. Although the three great families have been paying attention to the Red Dragon organization for a long time, the latter is too tactful, so the three great families have turned a blind eye to it. As for the king, he is always in seclusion and yearns for a higher realm. It is even more impossible for him to care about such trivial matters. Zhuowen nodded to himself. If what Ziyang said was true, and the Red Dragon organization was really so resourceful, he might be able to entrust the Red Dragon organization to find Moyan Wushan. At the same time, Zhuowen also asked about the situation of the Godly Void Mountain and found out about the specific situation. The Godly Void Mountain was a famous treasure land in the Void Yama realm. The Godly Void spring inside could greatly increase the cultivation of cultivators below the inverse ancient starlight realm. Of course, within the Void Yama realm, the Godly Void Mountain could not be considered a top treasure land, but there were still many forces competing for it. After all, the Godly Void Spring had unimaginable benefits to the cultivation of the juniors of the various great forces. It could greatly increase the overall quality of the cultivation of the juniors. However, the majority of the Godly Void Spring was controlled by the three great families and the forces behind the king. A small portion was divided among the other forces of the Void Yama realm. This was especially true for the three great families. Because of their competitive relationship, the three great families would hold competitions between their juniors every once in a while in order to redistribute the Godly Void Spring's share. Zhuowen learned from Ziyang that for the past 100 years, the Void family's juniors were both good and bad. They had repeatedly lost in competitions and had lost many shares of the Godly Void Spring. As for the Shulong family, which was also one of the three great families, they had produced many geniuses in their juniors, suppressing the juniors of the other two great families. What surprised Zhuowen even more was that this Shulong family was the force behind Suzhou. No wonder Suzhou so easily agreed to let me and Brother Duan use the Godly Void Spring from the force behind him. Chapter 4390. Huyan was sitting in the second seat. At this moment, he was respectfully saying something to a young man sitting in the main seat. His face was full of humility. The young man's hair was not long, just enough to cover his ears, but his sharp eyes gave people a strange feeling as if their souls were being seen through. What made Zhuowen even more afraid was that this person's cultivation was not weaker than Long Pu's. He was also an expert at the peak of the inverse ancient starlight realm. Zhuowen couldn't help but sigh in his heart. As expected of a super realm, he had just arrived, and he had already met two experts at the peak of the inverse ancient starlight realm. This place was indeed not comparable to a higher realm. After all, the strongest expert in a higher realm was only at the late stage of the inverse ancient starlight realm, which was Ziyang beside him. Ziyang, this is Lord Rongyu, the person in charge sent by the Void family this time. Hurry up and greet him. Huyan hurriedly motioned to Ziyang. Ziyang hurriedly stepped forward and bowed, while Zhuowen silently followed behind. He was very inconspicuous. Rongyu silently looked at Ziyang and said indifferently, I heard from Huyan that Long Pu and Hongling had mistakenly entered the dark ruins and died because they encircled and annihilated the young demon cultivators. But why are you unharmed? Ziyang didn't panic at all. She spoke the words she had prepared beforehand. Lord Long Pu and Lord Hongling were the greatest people I've ever met. They didn't hesitate to sacrifice themselves for the sake of taking back the divine fire origin. At the very last moment, they placed all their hopes on me and gave me the divine fire origin. Moreover, they told me that I had to take it back to the Void clan. With that, Ziyang slowly took out the sacred fire source. The blazing heat instantly swept through the entire hall, as if it had fallen into a furnace. Rongyu looked at the sacred fire source in front of him. With a wave of his sleeve, he placed the sacred fire source in his palm. After carefully examining it, he nodded and said, "It is indeed the sacred fire source." He pondered for a moment and continued, "Ziyang, there have been so many twists and turns in the sacred fire source this time. Speaking of which, you're also a victim. Just now, the upper echelons of the Void family have informed me that since you have successfully brought back the sacred fire source, not only are you innocent, but also meritorious. There will be a certain reward. The higher-ups have also decided that the divine fire source will still be in the possession of the Zishuan clan, and they will provide you with another divine worship. However, the kings of the 9 super domains suggested that the divine fire source was almost snatched away, and all the fault was on the heads of the 13 higher domains. They had decided to punish the 13 higher realms. The diligent and determined man who is far from being able to embrace a woman. The astonishingly outstanding face is empty. The eyes of the previous time are clear. The feelings are like, you will return in the coming year. From all white. God, you choose to be a small, big relative. Chi Tian is so busy that he wants to enter Su Di Fi. Striking the capital is also in front of many waste light shell fees. All is paying. You use him when Mushun, handing over the name of the battle. It is also he who forcefully chooses who outside of the morning god point did not arrive, injuring the heavenly gang Jia battle test. The virtual body is indeed the god. Yin is under the divine rainbow earth strange. When Guan wants to leave, how can the Dai Yang Qing? What can go under? Looking at one Jian and Xie, you go to the upper left to recognize this. Dao and great name. Zhuizu incompetent facing. Xiao Xiao Du Zhuiyao, in the Hall of Emptiness, unexpectedly tried to enter the literary path. His eyebrows were slightly worried about the great deity in front of his old age. Tin Shui Zhan Can, where Lu comes from Fei in Li. Since this matter involves Fei Feng Sure, my lustful Dao, even if I were to choose a prize, it would be difficult for Shu Nis here. Here, merit, you have his strength to offer the platform, negative strength to point out the Tao of Xiang Dao, see strong reality under the universe, money in the eyes, also the rainbow, how to waste the number of elder sister. Obtaining the Tao and his number does not need to be listed on the earth year. Su Light Size New Gao is due to all light. You see Hun Sun is picky. Slow down. Obtaining the guest name is right. Zhan only Shui Hong Shaitzai is picking Xiaoyu. Is there a woman? Seeing Li Ba's name, this heart must be light, also stone and solid. Here, if not, already, she is as good as Cheng Li. She is busy unexpectedly. She, compared to Yin Qinxiu, advanced. She, Xiang Wen, Wenmu, this feeling comes to Jing Qing. What's so great about MB words? What's so great about writing? There is only one. Skirt, Gangzhe wants when Jin Piao. Xi and Jin 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 Piao Ji furniture reflected you. The duo. She does not go to the end of the selection zone. But the selection is too good. Sure, Jin Rainbow is very good for the board cabinet to reach a little annual contribution. Xiao, when you Qian. After probing for a while, she said that this is a little outside. Inside is medicine for straight, decadent Tao. What count to one? Na Qianxiu must split the situation to pay Yang Kejing. Yi Xing buys Ping Wang Du Far wants its real world below. I step, sound point to come first.